Chapter 1229. Around these mines, disputes between the big clans have also been going on for many years. But on the surface, of course, they are all peaceful. Chu Yang's information on these mines was also obtained from Lan Ruo. In the past, Chu Yang really didn't think of the importance of these mines. But after Lan Ruo's explanation, he finally understood that these mines were, in fact, the real pillars of the big clans. And every mine was guarded by many supreme martial artist experts. What I'm going to talk about next is the grievances between the big clans. Chu Yang said seriously, "The reason why I'm talking about pity first and then grievances later is because I want you to weigh the grievances against each other and the issue of benefits. This requires precise calculation." Mo Tianji frowned and pursed his lips. He nodded deeply and didn't say a word. As Chu Yang spoke, Mo Tianji's frown became tighter and tighter. When Chu Yang finished, it was already dawn outside. A night had passed. Mo Tianji's wrists were sore. If his left hand was sore, he would switch to his right hand. If his right hand was sore, he would switch to his left hand. Now, both his hands were trembling like chicken feet. He stared dumbfoundedly at the stack of papers that was 2 feet thick in front of him. He let out a long sigh. This is just the initial information? Rough information? Chu Yang nodded. Compared to the information of the big clans, this information is insignificant. Mo Tianji's face was ashen. Just this? I've already used 5 big bottles of ink and lost 13 brushes. Chu Yang encouraged him. Good luck. Mo Tianji's face was very pale. Do you know that if I had so much information in the upper 3 heavens, I could have at least sorted out half of it? I just want to know, what have you seen now? Chu Yang asked. I can only see 2 points now. First, you are in the upper 3 heavens. You are not able to really hurt the big clans. Second, the Li clan that we have set up beforehand is not powerful enough to deal with them alone. Also, there are too many variables and they can change sides at any time. Third, the grievances between the big clans. It's not enough to make them fight to the death. Fourth, at the moment, the only thing that can be used is these mines. Also, black crystals, blue crystals and so on. These can be ignored. The focus is only on the purple crystal mines. Only large-scale purple crystal mines can really trigger a big war. And to do that, we still need to keep fanning the flames. Otherwise, the war wouldn't have happened. Fifth, if there is no internal strife among them, we want to unify. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Especially if you want to unify without sacrificing anything, that's even more impossible. Most powerless of all. Right now, the heaven passage is still sealed. Other than you, none of us can go up. Mo Tianji sighed deeply. I can't even find more information. In this way, when the heaven passage opens, we will have to face the most dangerous and severe situation to plan and fight. However, among the great clans of the upper 3 heavens, there is a clan with wisdom. In the wisdom clan, there's another person who isn't weaker than me in any aspect. In fact, he's even stronger than me, Du Qingro. The worst thing is that Diwu Qingro had vaguely guessed your identity. Once you force him into a corner at a critical moment, all he needs to do is reveal your identity, and the situation can be reversed immediately. Such a great trump card, such an earth-shattering trump card, is in the hands of the enemy. Mo Tianji looked up and sighed. The most tragic thing is that the Dharma Supreme of the law enforcement officers was actually once one of the tribulations. He's familiar with all the actions and abnormalities of the tribulation's sword master. Whether it's martial power, intelligence, manpower, timing, location, or people, they are all on the enemy's side. And we, on the other hand, are just the 60s. Mo Tianji rubbed his forehead. I want to say that this is too tragic. Chu Yang said, the whetstone in the heavens is waiting for me to sharpen my saber. My saber will shine brightly and soar into the heavens. Get lost. Mo Tianji was a little exasperated. That's what I said to comfort them and boost their fighting spirit. What's the use of saying that to myself? This is really a headache. Mo Tianji said. As long as we can win this battle, Your reputation as the master of calculation and manipulation, as well as your mastery of the mental cultivation techniques of the world, will truly be achieved, Chu Yang encouraged. I have no doubts about this. Mo Tianji sighed. I'm afraid that I'll be dead from exhaustion before we win. When Chu Yang spoke again, he realized that Mo Tianji was already completely immersed in it. He couldn't hear anything. When Chu Yang walked out, Mo Tianji was still looking down, flipping through these materials one by one. Then, he carefully differentiated them and started to copy them again. Once Mo Tianji was completely immersed in it, even a bull wouldn't be able to pull him out. Chu Yang walked out and gently closed the door. The sky was already bright. The Ao clan was in jubilation. Today was the birthday of the clan master. Ao Tian Xing lanterns and colored banners were everywhere. At this juncture, the young clan master just happened to come out of seclusion. This was even more of a double blessing. The moment Chu Yang went out, he found Ao Shiyun and told him about Gu Duxing's wedding. Especially regarding the request for the wedding gift, he explained it in detail. Ao Shiyun's reaction was very comical. He opened his mouth and stared, his whole body trembling. Is there a need to be in such a hurry? Ao Shiyun asked. The sooner the better. Chu Yang directly instructed, quickly arrange for people to write the invitations. Then, through the intelligence network, spread them all over the world. But Ao Shiyun wasn't a sloppy person. He turned around and was about to make the arrangements. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly turned back. Boss, that wedding gift, there's a chance that I'll get a share, right? How much can I get? Chu Yang gritted his teeth. If you don't do it after saying this, you won't get a share even if it's 60s. Ao Shiyun disappeared with a whoosh. As the Grand Duke of the Ao clan, Ao Shiyun could be said to have everything he wanted. But for some reason, he was a little greedy since he was young. This time, after awakening the divine dragon bloodline, he became even more stingy. When he saw a treasure, he couldn't pull it away. Chu Yang was especially curious. After discussing with Mo Tianji and the others for a while, he realized that the dragon clan was greedy to begin with. Every dragon was a collector of wealth. Only in and not out. Ao Shiyun's current behavior could already be considered charitable in the land of the dragon clan. Chu Yang secretly calculated in his heart. In the future, when they reached the upper 3 heavens, it would be more appropriate for Ao Shiyun to manage the finances of the brothers. Only in and not out. How worry-free. Ao Shiyun directly made a big move. In 30 minutes, he gathered 500 accountants. Then, he threw a few thick copies of the distribution of forces in the 3 heavens on the table. 1 invitation for each force. Write it down clearly. I want to see it today. Who dares to not give face to me and the heavenly armament pavilion in the 3 heavens? Gifts must be heavenly treasures and purple crystals. Metals must be treasured. All of them must be of the highest quality. Sign it off with the heavenly armament pavilion as the first. Gu clan second, Ao clan third, then Luo clan. Dong clan Di clan. The Grand Duke's face was like a bandit, causing the accountants to tremble. Great young master, you want to scour the entire 3 heavens. At the same time, GMO, Luo Kadi, Dong Wule, Xie Danqiong and the others also received the news. Then, the various clans immediately gathered their people. Some wrote invitations, while others sent out notices. Many of them even sent out messenger birds as fast as a spark of fire. There were also many people who directly rode their horses and rushed out. The entire Mo clan was instantly filled with the fragrance of ink. The sound of writing could be heard everywhere, as if countless silkworms were eating mulberry leaves. The ink on the invitations that were still wet were immediately distributed. Those who had messenger birds tied them to their legs, pinched them into wax balls and released them. Those who didn't have messenger birds immediately rushed to deliver the invitations. Chu Yang specially wrote a letter to Dukyu, requesting the people of the Dark Bamboo to participate in this operation. The words in the letter were very polite. It was said that after Dukyu saw it, he first smashed the table. Then he pointed at the sun and cursed. In the end, he ordered the invitations to be sent out, and then prepared the gifts. Is the wine tasty? Is the water tasty? Gu Duxing wants to get married. Help advertise and ask for some betrothal gifts. We want heavenly treasures, rare metals, and so on. There was a long list of requests at the back. Duke Yu was full of anger. Damn it, isn't this threatening me? But I have to accept this threat. I'm so angry. When the accountants of the Dark Bamboos saw the draft written by Duke Yu, they were all shocked. A man with a goatee mustered the courage to ask, Minister Yu, is this a mistake? Since ancient times, who would write invitations like this? Duke Yu was full of anger. Just write it when I ask you to. What nonsense are you spouting? Instantly, everyone kept quiet out of fear. Not long after, all the members of the Dark Bamboo in the world were mobilized, sending out notices and invitations. The entire three heavens was in a state of panic. Chu Yang stood in the backyard, breathing under the sunlight. Gu Duxing hurried over. I just woke up. After discussing it last night, I feel that something is wrong. It's still not too late to get married 7 days later, but where am I supposed to put my face if they use my name to plunder money and gifts in the three heavens? This is too embarrassing. No. Chu Yang was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed dryly. It seems that it's not up to you now. Gu Duxing was stunned. But I'm not allowed to get married? Well, because the invitations are all on the way. Chu Yang laughed dryly. You know, the big clans are always very fast when doing things. Gu Duxing was stunned and on the verge of collapsing. They're all on the way? Chu Yang laughed dryly. 7 to 8 big clans are sending out invitations together, and I've even mobilized the entire Dark Bamboo. Although it's only been less than 3 hours since dawn, this news has been sent out at least tens of thousands. This number is definitely conservative. Please believe in me. Gu Duxing was completely speechless. He didn't expect Chu Yang to be so swift and decisive. He had just said it and already done it. He didn't even have time to react. Begging for monthly votes. Currently, we're standing at the top in a precarious position. No matter what, we're still the top. So, thank you, brothers and sisters. So, I'll continue to write the 10th update. I'll fulfill my promise. Chapter 12:30. Gu Duxing, the groom-to-be, stood there in a daze. For a moment he looked like a wooden statue. At this moment he really understood what it meant to not know whether to laugh or cry. This time, it was really over. From today onwards, the name Gu Duxing would really stink the streets for the next 3 days, but Gu Duxing didn't know that all this was because of Mo Tianji's words. This matter must be done quickly. Right now, Gu Duxing is immersed in his blissful fantasy, but by tomorrow morning at the latest, he will consider the problem of face. So before he finds you tomorrow morning, this matter must be done. Chu Yang was very much in agreement. And so, under the situation where the bride and groom didn't even know, the invitations were already sent out. My face. Gu Duxing wanted to cry but had no tears. Chu Yang comforted him. It's okay, Duxing. All this time, what face do you have? Don't want this face anymore. It's useless, really. Besides, you already have a wife, what do you need face for? Was this comforting? Gu Duxing turned around abruptly and jumped up. He grabbed Chu Yang's neck and shook him fiercely. I'll strangle you to death. Chu Yang stuck out his tongue from the choke. With a loud roar, Jianghu came out with his sword. Gu Duxing, what are you doing? How dare you bully boss? Are you rebelling? Come, I want to duel with boss. Chu Yang and Gu Duxing fainted at the same time. They thought that a helper had come, but in the end, after criticizing Gu Duxing righteously, he himself wanted to duel with Chu Yang, who was currently being bullied. What the hell was this? Chu Yang hurriedly broke free. You want to duel? Okay, GMO, I said that I would make you feel sweeter than honey today. Duel with boss. Count me in. Gu Duxing's face was gloomy. I want to claim back the compensation for the damage to my reputation. I'll give you an extra 5% of your betrothal gift, okay? Chu Yang negotiated patiently. That was all mine to begin with. Gu Duxing said indignantly. Yes, it's all yours. Chu Yang comforted him. But you're from the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and the Heavenly Armament Pavilion is ours. So, your betrothal gift is also ours. Gu Duxing said angrily, duel. Who's afraid of you? Chu Yang snorted, come, I'll teach you guys a lesson. While they were talking, Ao Shiyun, Xie Danqiong, and Luo Kadi came in a single file. Everyone had a smug look on their faces as if they were waiting to watch a good show. He was full of confidence. Everyone was full of confidence for this battle with Chu Yang. More than a year. From the Emperor level to the Supreme Being level, there was a gap of 20 levels. This speed had even surpassed Chu Yang's record for the fastest improvement. Furthermore, the record at that time was a mere martial ancestor or martial honorable. Therefore, everyone was very certain that no matter how much Boss improved, he was definitely not a match for us this time. His long-awaited wish of beating up his boss was finally going to be fulfilled today. Especially when he saw Gu Du Xing choking Chu Yang's neck. And Chu Yang was powerless to resist, so his confidence grew even greater. Go, go, go. Don't fight here. Ao Shiyun took the lead and walked out in high spirits. It's not good to destroy my house. Let's find a quiet place and have a good fight. Just come back before noon. As he walked, he said, be careful, don't break Boss. You can kick his butt a few more times. But try not to beat his face too badly. Just beat him into a dragon head. Boss is commonly known as a dragon head. Beating him into a dragon head is not bad. That's right. What Duke Xie said really makes sense. Luo Kadi and GMO smiled evilly as they followed behind. They were rather impatient. Gu Du Xing, who was at the back, thought for a while. He said in a low voice, why don't you admit defeat? Admit defeat? Chu Yang snorted. You actually want to beat me into a dragon head? I can't stand to see you all so smug. I'll teach you all a lesson today. Including you, I'll beat you into a dragon head. Don't worry, I'll be merciful to you. I won't delay your wedding. I definitely won't let you go into the bridal chamber with a dragon head. Gu Du Xing was furious. He really didn't know how to appreciate kindness. He swept away angrily. In the open space of the mountain. This was a secluded little valley. It was very quiet. Chu Yang stood directly in the middle. He turned to face the five of them with his hands behind his back. Are you all coming together? Or are you all coming one by one? Haha. The five guys opposite him laughed in unison. They had obviously heard an extremely hilarious joke. Boss, we're all supreme martial artists now. Supreme martial artists. Do we still need to come together to deal with you? GMO held his head high and smiled so widely that his eyes couldn't be seen. His expression was especially despicable. Oh then, who's going first? Chu Yang's hands were a little itchy. I'll go first. Apart from Gu Du Xing, the other four fought to be the first to say this at the same time. In the end, it was still GMO who was a step ahead. He jumped out directly and put on an act of holding his sword and bowing. Boss, please give me your guidance. Before Chu Yang could return the bow, he was already overjoyed and laughing. Come on. Chu Yang smiled lightly. Oh, whoa, dog ant. GMO exhaled loudly. His shout shook the vast sky. Then, his body suddenly turned into a streamer of light and madly rushed towards Chu Yang. This aura was really earth-shattering. It was the typical demeanor of a supreme martial artist. Good. Luo Kadi jumped up and shouted evilly, beat him up. Before he could finish, he heard Chu Yang say, good. Then let's beat him up. Everyone was stunned. Under the attack of a supreme martial artist, he actually still spoke calmly and calmly. The next moment, there was a loud bang. G-Mo's body flew backward like a rocket. With his butt facing backward, his speed was actually as fast as lightning. Luo Kadi cheered loudly, good movement technique. Then, he suddenly realized that GMO didn't seem to have practiced such a backward movement technique before. At this moment, GMO only felt that his lower abdomen was about to flip over. He didn't expect that just because he had underestimated the enemy a little, he would get a solid kick from Boss. At this moment, he was kicked so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. He could only fly backward fiercely. A faint shadow suddenly appeared in front of GMO, and a kick landed accurately on Ji-mo's wrist. Second Master Ji let out a miserable cry, and his sword flew out of his hand, shooting straight up into the sky with a streak of light behind it. Then Ji-mo suffered another kick on his lower abdomen. Even though he was retreating fiercely, he still instinctively bent forward like a prawn. Bam! Chu Yang's fist hit Second Master Ji's left eye socket. Second Master Ji's head jerked backward violently. As he did so, his right eye suffered another punch. Instantly, a brand new giant panda appeared out of nowhere. Then, his body finally got close to balance. He suffered another punch on his chin. Second Master Ji yelled, "Fuck this dog ant. I'll change it." Chu Yang didn't care whether he changed it or not. Instantly, his limbs moved like the wind, as if he was hitting a sandbag. The only thing GMO could do was to hold his head with both hands and scream miserably. His body, shoulders, chest, vest, lower abdomen, buttocks, legs. His face, head, all suffered from Chu Yang's all-around, concentrated, storm-like beatings. From beginning to end, Second Master Ji only made one move. Then he played the role of a sandbag from beginning to end. And he didn't even land on the ground. Just like that, he was beaten into a pulp. This kind of intense and tragic scene made the other three people who were fighting for the chance to fight break out in a cold sweat. They were all dumbfounded as they looked on, feeling lucky in their hearts. Luckily, I was a step slower just now. Otherwise, the one being beaten up in the air right now would be me. I'll change it, boss. GMO shouted, almost crying. But why did you change it? As Chu Yang asked, he had already thrown 7 or 8 punches and more than 10 kicks. Aren't you a supreme martial artist? Aren't you very awesome? Didn't you want to teach me a lesson? Come, don't cover your face. Come. Let's fight, brother. GMO really wanted to cry. Boss, I was wrong. His heart was filled with endless regret. My mouth is so cheap, don't mention it. Besides, it wasn't just that. Last night, after GMO went back, he bragged to Huyan Aobo that he was going to beat Boss up today. Huyan Aobo excitedly expressed that she wanted to watch the fight. Of course, GMO was happy to let his sweetheart see his heroic bearing. Therefore, he told her, "Just follow us." So now, Huyan Aobo was also secretly watching. Second Master Ji even had the heart to die. I got a bunch of spectators. So they're here to watch me make a fool of myself. Why bother? With a bang, Second Master Ji fell down like a broken gunny sack. He curled up on the ground, groaning on the ground with a bloody nose and a swollen face. While Ao Shiyun and the rest were dumbfounded in disbelief, they saw that on both sides of Second Master Ji's forehead, 2 big bumps appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. This shape was exactly like 2 dragon horns. Shiyun said that he wanted to beat him into a dragon head. Chu Yang was standing not far away. So, I fulfilled his wish. The 4 of them didn't say anything, their faces full of black lines. Ao Shiyun almost wanted to slap himself a few times. Who asked you to be so cheap? What dragon head? Who's next? Chu Yang was obviously very excited. Little wolf? Come, let me test you. Luo Kadi's little face instantly turned pale. He shrank back continuously, a fawning smile on his face. Boss is indeed boss, really mighty. I'm impressed. As for this test, forget it. Forget it? That won't do. Chu Yang shook his head like a rattle drum. If you're not coming over, I'm going over. Luo Kadi let out a strange cry and broke into a run. Chu Yang let out a long laugh and flew over at lightning speed. Gu Duxing, Ao Shiyun and Xie Danqiong dodged to the sides with great tacit understanding. Gu Duxing even grabbed Luo Kadi's back while he was at it. Luo Kadi let out a cry of surprise, but he had already been caught up. He cursed angrily. You guys are really good brothers. Fuck. It was useless even if he cursed. Chu Yang had already come over. Luo Kadi held his breath and quickly channeled his energy to fight. Not long after, Luo Kadi, Ao Shiyun, Xie Danqiong and GMO lay together. The 4 dragon heads were lined up side by side, really like 4 huge dragons moving together, extremely mighty. Chapter 12:31. Among the brothers, the one who was beaten up the most was definitely not the first challenger, GMO. It was Wuxia, Ao Xian. Especially Ao Xian, the instigator, because he said, "How can a divine dragon bloodline not have a dragon head?" Besides, he was the one who suggested to turn Chu Yang into a dragon head in the beginning. How could Chu Yang let him go? Therefore, Ao Xian's dragon horns were the most majestic. Baidu search for Pig Island novel, therefore, Wuxia begged for mercy as he fought. "Today is my father's birthday. Save me some face." He only got this reply. "You have more face when you transform into a divine dragon." After fighting 4 people in a row, Chu Yang was in a good mood. In fact, he was very happy. Other than GMO, who turned into a dragon head in one move because he underestimated his opponent, the other 3 all gave Chu Yang different degrees of great surprise. Everyone's cultivation was the same, but their battle tactics were completely different. This was what made Chu Yang the happiest. Each of them had their own style. Even if they were together every day, they would never be assimilated by each other. Baidu search for Pig Island novel. His self-awareness was very strong. This was also the most basic and important foundation to become a top-level martial artist. Luo Kadi's lone wolf-like attacking style and his ferocious sword techniques surprised Chu Yang. Fighting with Luo Kadi was like facing a pack of wolves in a boundless forest. Extremely hungry wolves, biting from all directions. If one was not careful, they would be torn into pieces. When Xiedanqiong's viburnum flowers bloomed, they were the most beautiful in the world. This kind of dazzling and dreamlike technique was an eye-opener for Chu Yang. When the viburnum flowers bloomed, it was like a fairy scattering flowers, colorful and colorful. She was indeed beautiful beyond compare. However, behind this extreme beauty was an unparalleled murderous intent. Chu Yang's clothes were cut in more than 10 places. It was caused by Xiedanqiong's viburnum flowers. When Ao Xian's Divine Dragon War Manual was used, Chu Yang felt a great strain. This was the first time such a situation had happened in a battle with Chu Yang. Chu Yang was a peak sword saint. Under the suppression of their cultivation levels, he could already fight a second-grade supreme martial artist. And Ao Xian was only a first-grade supreme martial artist who had just advanced. Among the 4, only Ao Xian's Divine Dragon War Manual could. Chu Yang was somewhat confused. He couldn't see the direction clearly. However, this battle had greatly increased his confidence. The more he watched, the brighter his eyes became, and the stronger his fighting spirit became. Chu Yang's strength and sharpness were both top-notch sword cultivators. Both of them were fatally attractive to him. It caused the sword intent in his chest to move unhindered, and he thirsted for battle. Ao Xian and the others had already been defeated. There was only Gu Duxing left. Chu Yang was still standing there. He looked at Gu Duxing with a smile, the sword in his hand flashing. Chu Yang didn't move, and neither did Gu Duxing. However, sword energy suddenly surged in the arena. The surrounding flowers and plants all fell down neatly. The sword intent in their bodies. They both felt the same aura from each other. Even if people don't fight, even the sword had to fight. There are no 2 suns in the sky, and no 2 monarchs in a country. Similarly, in the land of the sword Tao, there was only one emperor. Chu Yang's eyes became sharper and more fervent. Gu Duxing straightened his body. Suddenly, there was a clanging sound in the air. He was originally standing as straight as a javelin. However, this straightening of his waist was like a peerless divine sword suddenly unsheathed. His expression and aura were completely different from just now. "Come on," Chu Yang said. "Come on," Gu Duxing said coldly. Chu Yang stood where he was without moving. Gu Duxing spread out his arms, and with a swoosh, Ao Xian and the other 3 were sent 100 feet away. Then he walked forward slowly. With every step he took, his sword intent became sharper. "Boss, please advise me." Gu Duxing took 3 steps forward. "I've been practicing the sword since I was young. I was lonely. Feeling depressed, I created the Sword of Solitude. In the lower 3 heavens, I met Boss, and my sword aura changed to become the Sword of Solitude. Although I'm lonely, I want to use my loneliness as a guardian. Then I met Tu Qianhao. In a battle of life and death, I comprehended Tu Qianhao's Sword of Oblivion. Sword of Oblivion. Sword of Oblivion. Gu Duxing said lightly, these two sword techniques are gathered in me. They haven't been unified until now. Today's battle is, firstly, to satisfy my craving and fight for supremacy in the Sword Dao. Secondly, to let boss experience my Sword of Solitude. My Sword of Oblivion. My Heart of Solitude. My Heaven of Oblivion. At the end of his speech, Gu Duxing suddenly raised his head. His eyes shone brightly like two long swords that had already been unsheathed. Chu Yang smiled lightly. Duxing, I know you've always wanted to experience the sword techniques. Today, I'll fulfill this wish of yours. Chu Yang said this through telepathy. He had already sensed that Huyen Aobo and the others were watching this battle. Therefore, he was still cautious and didn't say it out loud. Upon hearing the word Sword of Tribulations, Gu Duxing's sword intent surged. His battle-intent sword. Suddenly he let out a long howl. With a howl, heaven and earth shook. The clouds in the sky were suddenly sliced into pieces and scattered in all directions, as if they had encountered sharp wind blades. Today, the wish of a lifetime was fulfilled. Clang! The black dragon sword appeared in Gu Duxing's hand with a bone-piercing coldness and bleakness. Then, Gu Duxing strode forward. He walked step by step with heavy footsteps. But every step he took covered at least 100 feet of space. But after taking 5 steps like this, he still hadn't reached Chu Yang. Chu Yang reached out and a long sword appeared in his hand. He didn't use the Sword of Tribulations. There was no need for the Sword of Tribulations in a spar between brothers. A bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in the sky. Gu Duxing's voice rang out. Heavenly Solitude. A mighty sword intent, with a bleak solitude, poured down in torrents. Sword aura crisscrossed and enveloped a radius of 100 feet. Gu Duxing rose with his sword. His black robes fluttered as he turned into a beam of black light that shot through the sky. Just this move of his caused the expressions of Ao Xian, Xie Danqiong and the others to change. But it made them realize at once, Gu Duxing had never used his full strength against them in their usual spars. Chu Yang smiled lightly and shouted through telepathy, Sword of Tribulations, one ray of cold light pierces 10,000 feet. With a swing of his sword, a dazzling cold light suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, it suddenly dispersed into 10,000 rays of cold light, covering the sky and earth and whistling toward Chu Yang. Gu Duxing was energized. He shouted, Heavenly Solitude! Heavenly Solitude! Heavenly Solitude! 3 consecutive moves. Suddenly released. The whole world seemed to have suddenly become bleak and desolate at this moment. The 10,000 rays of cold light collided with the Sword of Solitude. Both of their bodies shook at the same time. The colors of autumn actually floated backward at the same time. Gu Duxing was shocked. The Sword of Tribulations was indeed extremely powerful. It was just one move, but he actually needed 3 moves to neutralize it. While retreating in the air, Gu Duxing suddenly changed from retreating to ascending. He shouted, Heavenly Solitude! A mighty Sword of Solitude shot out in a straight line. This move made Chu Yang's heart tremble. This move of Gu Duxing's even carried an aura of Dao. Chu Yang's black-robed figure turned around in the air as he retreated. He shouted through telepathy, Sword of Tribulations! What's the harm in slaughtering the world? At the same time, a sharp sword aura was also unleashed. It met Gu Duxing's Heavenly Solitude in the air. With a soft pop, the Heavenly Solitude Sword of Solitude scattered. That sword aura of, what's the harm in slaughtering the world? Although more than half of it was eliminated, the remaining momentum did not change. It rushed straight toward Gu Duxing. Impressive! Gu Duxing exclaimed in his heart. He shouted, Earth of Solitude! He made another move to neutralize this move. He was currently 1 level higher than Chu Yang, and an important one at that. He was a sword saint, but he was a sword supremacy. However, he was actually at a disadvantage against the Sword of Tribulations. Immediately after, The follow-up moves of Chu Yang's Sword of Tribulations came endlessly like rolling waves. A sharp will buried deep does not change, gathering the wind and clouds to become the emperor, famous for eternity, whistling winds and clouds from the west and east. By the time the two moves of the Calamity Sword cut off the sentimental traveler of the mortal world, where the edge of the sword reaches, everything ends, Gu Duxing's Sword of Solitude had already been used up. The three solitudes of heaven, earth, and man merged into one and became Heaven and Earth of Solitude, and Heaven and Man of Solitude. But when Chu Yang's move of Iron Wall and Bronze Wall fighting not over appeared, Gu Duxing's Sword of Solitude was finally completely defeated. He retreated abruptly and went straight up in the air. The farther he retreated, the smaller he became in the air, almost becoming a black. Then he came down from the air with awe. His sword flashed, and an inexplicable aura spread down. Gu Duxing sighed. A sword to the peak. He took 2 steps in the air, and the sword light carried with it a desolate and heavy aura. Such an aura seemed to be able to make one completely forget the past and enter a wonderful state. Chu Yang shouted, "What a sword of oblivion! Look at me, what more can I ask for in this life?" Their swords clashed densely in the air, and the sound was dense and fragmented, like the wind blowing on a lotus or the rain hitting a banana leaf. Gu Duxing's body spun as he retreated, and then spun as he advanced. He said slowly, "Life and death, victory and defeat, vanishing in the blink of an eye." The aura of emptiness of heaven and earth was even more intense in this move. Chu Yang flipped over, and the sword aura summoned in the air. Suddenly, the wind and clouds surged, as if gathering here at this moment, wanting to fill up the emptiness of heaven and earth that Gu Duxing had created. It was the gathering of clouds and clouds. With a boom, sword aura flew out, as if a bomb had exploded. Ao Shiyun and the other 3 screamed and flew away in all directions. During the battle just now, both Chu Yang and Gu Duxing had been controlling their strength and not letting it leak out. But now, both of them could no longer control it. The trees in a radius of hundreds of feet fell down neatly. The sword aura flew everywhere, slashing deep sword marks one after another on the mountain rocks. Gu Duxing held his sword horizontally in front of his chest and said disappointedly, "Where can I find a soulmate in the world?" He turned around, and when he was about to turn back, the sword aura spread out in a radius of 1,000 feet. "When I want to turn back, I've already forgotten." Chu Yang perked up, and the 2 moves, Hidden Edge Hidden Light and Unending Night and Unending Sun and Moon, were launched consecutively. Right at this moment, he finally discovered where Gu Duxing's biggest problem was. Devotion. Too much devotion. Too much devotion was the flaw. Chapter 1232. The battle with Gu Duxing lasted for an hour. Whether it was Gu Duxing or Ao Shiyun, Xie Danqiong and the rest who were watching, all of them felt satisfied from the bottom of their hearts. Satisfying. It was really satisfying. In the end, when Chu Yang used the 2 moves of, "I'd rather go into hiding for the rest of my life in exchange for the killing frenzy of Green Heaven," Gu Duxing finally couldn't continue and the 2 of them stopped fighting. If they continued fighting, it would be a battle of life and death. Baidu search Pig Island novel. Long after the battle ended, the sword aura was still wreaking havoc in the air, whistling here and there. Other than Chu Yang and Gu Duxing, no one else could enter this place. After a long time, Gu Duxing retracted the heart sword intent and let out a long sigh. "Have you realized?" Chu Yang nodded. "Yes, there is indeed a particular flaw, a huge flaw." Gu Duxing frowned and thought hard. "I've always been puzzled. Why can't they be unified? If I could combine the 2 sword intents into one, I'm afraid that you would only be able to fight me when you're at the same level as me. But now you're 1 level lower than me, and I'm at a complete disadvantage, unable to fight back." Chu Yang said, "Yes, both of your sword intents are very powerful, especially your Sword of Oblivion, which is close to the Tao state. But you can't defeat me whose cultivation is lower than yours. I'm not as talented as you, and it's useless. Although the Tribulation Sword technique is powerful, you're a sword supremacy and can handle it. But you still can't win, ultimately because..." Chu Yang said word by word, "You're too engrossed." Too engrossed? Gu Duxing was confused. Yes, when you use the sword of solitude, you're fully engrossed. When you use the sword of oblivion, you're also fully focused. But the more so, the more a natural and irreparable gap appears in these two sword techniques. Chu Yang said. Gu Duxing seemed to understand something, but he still couldn't grasp the main point. He asked, specifically, "You're too persistent? So, when you use the sword, you want to be perfect. But it is precisely because you have always wanted to be perfect that you are unable to truly achieve perfection. Because you've trapped yourself." Chu Yang frowned and said, "Let's take the most obvious example. For example, children playing games. The game itself isn't important, but as long as you immerse yourself in it and reach the point where you forget yourself, no matter what game it is, you will be able to enjoy yourself. Because the game itself is for pleasure. When you feel pleasure, you have achieved the goal of the game. You don't have to care about the game itself because the game serves the mood, and not the mood serves the game." Gu Duxing was suddenly enlightened. "I understand now. I remember that in the land of martial arts, there are, and everyone knows that. It is, the body is the heaven and the earth, and the heart is the heaven and the earth. If there is no heaven, there is no me, and if there is no me, there is no heaven." Chu Yang chuckled. Everyone takes it as a saying. But he wouldn't think about it. It is precisely these most ordinary words that are the most profound of martial principles. Unity of heaven and man. The state of selflessness. It wasn't that he had lost his sense of self. Instead, it was a realm. The realm isn't the self, and it's also not a person. Chu Yang said heavily, "You're treating the realm as a person. It's that simple." Gu Duxing was sweating all over, but his eyes were shining brightly. He said, "I really understand now." Chu Yang smiled and walked a few steps away, leaving Gu Duxing alone on the scene. Gu Duxing thought for a long time. Finally, he began to draw his sword and dance, faster and faster. This time, even Ao Shiyun and the others who were far away could feel that the trajectory of Gu Duxing's sword moves this time was full of traces of spirituality. "The four of you." Chu Yang went over and looked at GMO, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "I really want to exclude you." GMO's face was bitter, and he pursed his lips. "I suffered a great loss. I underestimated the enemy." "Yes, that's right. Underestimated the enemy. I was just about to say that." Chu Yang nodded. "GMO, have you seen a lion before?" GMO was confused. "Yes, I have, but..." "Then have you seen a rabbit?" Chu Yang continued. "I've seen one before." "Then do you think the lion is stronger or the rabbit is stronger?" asked Chu Yang. This question made even Ao Shiyun and Xie Danqiong feel like laughing. "How is that even comparable?" GMO scratched his head. "The rabbit is the lion's food. Isn't that obvious?" Chu Yang nodded. "But have you noticed that the lion catches the rabbit?" He took in a long breath. "There's a saying that goes, 'A lion catches a rabbit with all its might.' The lion's strength is thousands of times that of a rabbit, and its body is dozens of times bigger. But it still catches the rabbit with all its might. What right do you have to underestimate the enemy? What right do you have to underestimate the enemy?" Chu Yang said sternly, "Underestimating the enemy is a crime. A capital crime." Cold sweat dripped down Jimo's head. Since ancient times, many heroes have died in the hands of opponents who were much weaker than them because they underestimated the enemy. There are many such lessons in the heavens, but you still make the mistake of underestimating the enemy. I've been wandering for so long, and almost all the opponents who died in my hands were stronger than me, but they all died under my sword. Because they underestimated the enemy." Chu Yang said sternly, "If you don't change this mistake of yours, one day, you will die in the hands of others." Suddenly, he opened his mouth and shouted, "Do you understand?" GMO only felt that his chaotic mind suddenly became clear. He said, "Yes." Chu Yang's shout was a kind of supreme spiritual secret technique, enlightening wisdom. Whether it was GMO who bore the brunt of it, or Ao Shiyun, Xie Danqiong and Luo Kadi who were beside him, they all felt their minds become much clearer in an instant. Little wolf, you didn't do anything wrong. Your shortcomings are still the same as before, a little reckless. Also, you have a lot of desperate moves. Chu Yang pondered and said to Luo Kadi, you like wolves, and your battle tactics are also similar to the style of wolves. But you have to remember, when wolves, especially packs of wolves, fight, the alpha wolf usually stands on the high ground and commands. It won't participate in the battle personally. Although it won't participate in the battle, as long as the alpha wolf still exists, the pack of wolves will never disperse. But in your battle, you even rushed up with the alpha wolf. Chu Yang patted his shoulder. Think about it carefully. Luo Kadi was convinced. These few words had simply spoken to his heart. Especially when he used Luo Kadi's favorite wolf pack as an analogy, it made him completely understand the meaning of his words. It was more effective than any other explanation. The lethality of the viburnum flower lies in its illusory and ethereal nature. You are already illusory enough, but the purpose is too strong. Therefore, although your viburnum flower is beautiful enough when it blooms, but it has an obvious murderous aura. Chu Yang said to Xie Danqiong, if the opponent is an expert, he only needs to close his eyes and sense the direction of your murderous aura, and he will be able to break your viburnum flower. Xie Danqiong pondered and said, hide the murderous aura? Chu Yang said, only by hiding the murderous aura. Only by leaving behind a dazzling illusion in full bloom is the real viburnum flower. Xie Danqiong frowned. I have also thought about this problem before. But if I want to hide the murderous aura, I need to hide the murderous intent in my heart. But if I don't have any murderous intent, how can I defeat the enemy? Chu Yang nodded. I gave an example to the little wolf and GMO just now. Now, I will give you another example. Danqiong, I don't know if you have noticed, but there is a kind of flower. When it blooms, it is very beautiful and fragrant. But once a small animal or bird is attracted by the fragrance, when it lands in the heart of the flower, this flower will close in an instant and devour the flying animal, destroying it. Xie Danqiong's eyes widened. I know. This is a murderous flower. Yes. Chu Yang smiled slightly. The viburnum flower is another kind of murderous flower. If you practice the viburnum flower to the level of a murderous flower, you will be able to move unhindered in the upper three heavens and protect yourself. Xie Danqiong fell into deep thought for a long time. What about me? Seeing that Gu Duxing and Xie Danqiong had all benefited, Ao Shiyun couldn't help but be excited and couldn't wait to ask. You? Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He only didn't understand Ao Shiyun's attack method. Maybe I will in the future, but I really can't see anything from you now. Because you can only unleash the greatest power when you use the Divine Dragon Secret Manual, so I won't comment on your previous martial arts. But I don't understand the Divine Dragon Secret Manual. Chu Yang said. Oh, I see. Ao Shiyun was a little disappointed. But I have a vague feeling I don't know if it's right. Chu Yang said, when you use it, although the moves are very skillful and smooth, it gives me a very childish feeling. Very childish? Ao Shiyun's whole body shook. Yes. It's like a child who hasn't grown up, or who hasn't grown up yet, waving a saber that only an adult can use. Chu Yang made another analogy and said, it's beyond my power. Ao Shiyun fell into deep thought. I have that feeling too. But what's strange is that I don't feel strained. That's what really puzzles me. Generally speaking, when using a technique or move that one's body can't support, there should be a feeling that one's strength is being drained. But I didn't. I think there's only one explanation. Chu Yang pondered and said, it's your bloodline. On one hand, your bloodline has awakened, but on the other hand, your bloodline hasn't fully awakened. Ao Shiyun nodded. He guessed so too, but he didn't know how to fully awaken it. As Chu Yang spoke, he suddenly thought of something. He took out a golden stone and said, look at this. This is something I took from the treasure vault in the lower three heavens. I only know that there's a strange power in it. I can feel it now, but I can't use it. I don't know what it's used for. Chu Yang said softly, I only know that this is called Golden Dragon Jade. When I thought of your bloodline, I took it out. When he looked up, he realized that Ao Xiun was already stunned. He looked at the head-sized golden dragon jade in Chu Yang's hands with shining eyes. His body even trembled a little. This is a dragon core. When Ao Xiun saw it, a strange feeling rose in his heart. Now that he blurted out this sentence, Ao Xiun dared to swear that he didn't know the two words dragon core at all before this. And even after saying it out loud, he still didn't know what a dragon core was used for. Chapter 12:33. Dragon Core. Chu Yang was stunned. What's the use of it? When Ao Xiun saw the dragon core, he suddenly felt his mind churn. As he sorted it out, he said, the dragon core is where the essence of a divine dragon lies. When every divine dragon is destroyed, all the essence in its body will automatically gather and form a core. On the outside, it will be wrapped in a crystal formed by the dragon soul, making it look like a piece of jade on the surface. No matter how much time has passed, it will still exist. This is also the most important inheritance of the dragon race. Because a young dragon needs too much time to grow up, and the fertility rate of the dragon race is very low to begin with. If not for this, the dragon race would have long been extinct. After the dragon core is formed, other races can't use it at all except for the dragon race. It can only be treated as a beautiful piece of jade to be admired. Therefore, the value of this thing to the world is not great, but to the dragon race, it is the most valuable treasure. Chu Yang finally understood. So it's this kind of thing. Then, he raised his hand and threw the dragon core over. Here you go. Ao Xiun was shocked and hurriedly caught the dragon core. Why are you so careless with such a valuable thing? Just throw it away like that? Baidu's search Pig Island novel, there was a hint of indignation. Didn't you say that this thing can't be destroyed? Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and said, it won't break even if I drop it. I've dropped it many times. Ao Xiun's heart ached so much that the flesh on his face was twitching. Although you gave this dragon core to me, I really want to beat you up after hearing what you said. Ah. Chu Yang laughed. How long do you need to absorb this thing? How much can you improve after absorbing it? Ao Xiun smiled bitterly. You think too highly of me. The dragon core can only be formed by an adult dragon. The power inside is so strong that it's practically unparalleled. With my current strength, I can't break the skin at all. Even if I can, it will explode instantly. It will also explode in an instant. Ao Xiun pouted. Just a poof sound like a fart. Then, I turned into the shape of a fart. Luo Kadi and GMO winked and both of them laughed. Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. Then keep it first. When you can absorb it, absorb it. That's the only way. Ao Xiun calculated for a while. I reckon that when I reach supreme martial artist level, I'll have the ability to absorb it. All right. Chu Yang nodded solemnly. As the saying goes, God knows when. Xie Dan Qiong burst into laughter. When they finally left, the sky was already close to noon. The banquet was about to start, so he wasn't going back. GMO looked back 3 times with each step. His face was full of guilt, and his heart was at a loss. After the person left, Nyang Jun finally appeared. As soon as he appeared, someone started to make things difficult for him. Aobua, what's the matter with you? Xie Danqiong's wife and Huyen Aobua were already quite familiar with each other. At this moment, of course, she wouldn't be polite with her words. You brought us here just to let us see our man become a dragon head? Huyen Aobo's face was flushed red as she tried to defend herself. It's not, it's because. GMO said that today he could show off his power and teach Big Brother a lesson. So came to see. Ha! The women laughed together and rolled their eyes. Well, we saw it. Huyen Aobo's face was red. Miss Aobua had never been so embarrassed in her life. Now that she was provoked, she couldn't control her anger. She rushed forward and shouted, GMO, you bastard! Stop right there. In front, GMO was rushing with his tail between his legs. When he heard that, he was shocked. Big Brother, let's go quickly. You're jealous. Chu Yang, he squinted his eyes. I haven't settled the score with you yet. Why did you find so many Nyang soldiers to watch the battle? You think you're going to win, right? No wonder you were the first to fight. You even put on such a cool front. Everyone laughed. Ji Mo's face was red as he pleaded, "Big brother, if we don't go now, it'll be too late. All right, let's go quickly." Chu Yang gave him a look and said, "But you stay." Before he finished, Ao Shiyun and Luo Kadi attacked at the same time, firmly suppressing GMO and pressing him to the ground. GMO screamed loudly, "Big brother, I'll die. I'll really die." As he spoke, Huyin Aobo had already arrived. Her burly body rushed over like a bull, stomping the ground loudly. "GMO, you bastard! Where are you going?" Ao Shiyun grabbed GMO, who couldn't resist, and laughed loudly. "Aobo, I'll leave GMO to you. The two of you can slowly whisper sweet nothings to each other." Then, with a shake of his hand, Second Master Ji was thrown out like a ball, towards Huyin Aobo. GMO screamed out in an extremely miserable manner, "Brothers like you, I GMO am truly." Then it was replaced by screams. Ao Shiyun and the rest, together with Chu Yang, laughed and went back in a relaxed manner, not even looking back. Behind them, the sounds of beating and GMO's miserable begging could be heard continuously. They went further and further away, until they couldn't be heard anymore. Ao Tianxing's birthday party was very popular and grand. Everyone drank to their heart's content. Halfway through, GMO came back with a bruised nose and a swollen face. His mouth was accidentally punched by Miss Huyen, and one side was swollen. Furthermore, he wasn't allowed to use his energy to heal himself. But what kind of person was Second Master Ji? How could he be stumped by such a small matter? He found a thin tube and inserted it into the wine cup. Then he sucked on the tube with the side of his mouth that wasn't swollen. Once someone said, "Cheers," Second Master Ji immediately sucked hard. With a sizzle sound, the entire cup of wine was gone. Convenient and fast. How thick was Second Master Ji's skin in the face of the strange gazes from around him? He didn't care about them at all. Furthermore, he could still stand up and look left and right while drinking with the tube in his mouth, looking around proudly. There was a feeling of, "I'm the only one sober when everyone is drunk." The expressions on Chu Yang and the rest's faces were too horrible to look at. They all turned to the side, with an expression of, "I don't know him." It was too embarrassing. At the banquet, Ao Tianxing directly announced his marriage. Furthermore, this Ao clan leader was indeed a sly old fox. He said it so smoothly that not a single drop of water leaked out. "Today is my birthday. Thank you all for coming to support me. Let me first toast to everyone. I'm sincerely grateful. Other than that, I'll announce another shocking piece of good news. The world-famous second pavilion master, Gu Duxing, will marry the Gu clan's young miss in 7 days. At that time, I'll hold a grand banquet in the Gu clan and invite all the heroes in the world." Yes, I'm really old and muddle-headed. I almost forgot a world-shaking piece of news. Ao Tianxing patted his forehead in self-reproach. He was in high spirits. Pavilion Master Gu is not only the second pavilion master of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Furthermore, he's the first supreme martial artist to appear in the entire three heavens. Supreme martial artist. These 4 words directly shocked the entire hall into silence. 3 heavens. A supreme martial artist actually appeared? The legendary supreme martial artist? Moreover, for the sake of the order of the 3 heavens, for the sake of everyone being able to peacefully get rich, for the sake of peace and safety, well, this old man, together with the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, the Dark Bamboo, the Gu clan, the Luo clan, the Dong clan, the Ji clan, the Xie clan, and the other clans, we have a joint discussion. We are preparing to take advantage of the Pavilion Lord Gu's wedding and the gathering of the heroes of the world to determine the situation of the 3 heavens. To sort out the order of the 3 heavens. Ao Tianxing sighed. The 3 heavens are too chaotic now. There are too many forces. They need to be eliminated. At this point, the people below held their breaths. Determine the situation of the 3 heavens from now on? Sort out the order? Who needs to be eliminated? This is too important. Ao Tianxing coughed a few times and said, as everyone knows, this is a wedding. Of course, we need to send gifts. With Pavilion Master Gu's status, he won't be interested in ordinary gold and silver. Everyone, don't you think so? Many people below curled their lips and shouted. What the fuck? He won't even be interested in gold and silver. Yes, so everyone will reluctantly send some heavenly treasures as a token of appreciation. Or rare and precious metals. Those are useless to everyone, right? Clan Master Ao said the most sanctimonious words. However, I'll solemnly declare that each force is only allowed to send one. No more. If anyone sends more than that, our clans will be angry with you. Countless people curled their lips. Heavenly treasures? Even one is hard to find. He's actually afraid that we'll send too many? Do we look like 250 people? Useless to us? Who said that? How do you know it's useless for us to keep it? Of course, everyone knows that although the Gu clan is big, they don't have much surplus food. In order to prevent people from cheating, we set up a heaven and earth treasure inspection team. The group of people cursed in their hearts, scam for food and drink? How many people in the three heavens had such guts? The Heavenly Armament Pavilion's pavilion master was getting married, and there was actually someone who dared to cheat him out of food and drink? Even if you're joking, you can't do that. Yes, the inspection team will evaluate these heavenly treasures according to their value and rank them first, second, third, and unrated. As a show of sincerity, our clans will cooperate with the friends who give us first-class gifts and treat them as friends, right? Gee, the magpie imitates the female Sun Dianzheng Huinyo Zhaochen magpie imitates the female Sun Dianzheng Huinyo Zhaochen magpie imitates the female Sun Dian 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 Ji. It's such an insult to give me a mediocre gift at the most important moment of my life. This was simply an extremely heinous provocation. We are all men. If we put ourselves in your shoes, who can endure such humiliation? This is trampling on the faces of the 8 great clans, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, and the Dark Bamboo at the same time. We will not tolerate such people. Absolutely not. Ao Tianxing looked at the crowd and sincerely asked for their opinions. Don't you think so? Right? Everyone in the hall pinched their noses and shouted bitterly at the same time, yes. Ao Tianxing stroked his beard and smiled. My friends, you're all reasonable. Today is Vice Moderator Ben Xian's birthday. Let us wish our Vice Moderator a happy day. In these few months, Vice Moderator Ben Xian has been conscientious and hardworking. That's why his comments are so popular and harmonious. Chapter 1234. At the Gu family's wedding reception area, Heavenly Treasures Reception. These nondescript words were hung up ostentatiously. A large flag of 70 to 80 feet in length and width was erected hundreds of feet high, flying fiercely in the air. The worst thing was that these words were written in an extremely ugly manner. Among the brothers, there were definitely many who were good at writing. Mo Tianji, Xie Dan Qiong and Ao Shiyun could be said to be calligraphy masters of their generation. But the problem was that everyone wanted to write, so they played rock, paper, scissors. The result left everyone flabbergasted. In the end, the one who won was the worst writer, the most ignorant and incompetent, the most gluttonous and lazy GMO. Second Master Ji walked with a majestic posture, holding a brush as if he was waving a sword in battle. He waved his brush in a crooked manner, big and small. Every time Gu Duxing saw this large flag, he would feel his calves twitching as he cursed in his stomach. Every time he saw GMO, he wanted to kill him alive. Other people's armies still couldn't break through Gu Duxing's cold face, but Second Master Ji only needed to write a few words to do it easily. How could such a large flag, and it was made of thick satin, be blown up without wind? It wouldn't work even if the wind wasn't strong enough. Looking at the flag drooping like a dead fish, Grand Duke Ao Shiyun was furious. He sent out 10 Emperor-level experts to create wind with their palms. They had to see the flag fluttering in the wind every moment. The 10 Emperor-level experts' faces turned bitter. In the three heavens, Emperor-level experts were already so awesome that people looked up to them. Who would have thought that they would be reduced to hairdryers today? Ao Shiyun and Xie Dan Qiong were in charge of the acceptance and bookkeeping. Heavenly Armament Pavilion shopkeeper Chu Yang was in charge of keeping them in the warehouse. As for GMO and Luo Kudi, they were in charge of scolding and praising people. Such an arrangement was really making the best use of everyone's talents. On the first afternoon of the acceptance team's opening, they received countless heavenly treasures. Ao Shiyun and Xie Dan Qiong, who were in charge of bookkeeping, each recorded 4 thick books. The leader of Little Pig Mountain sends a congratulatory gift, a 5,000-year-old snow ginseng, to congratulate Pavilion Master and Miss Gu on their marriage. The leader of Big Chicken Mountain sends a congratulatory gift, to congratulate Pavilion Master and Miss Gu. The leader of Giant Bull Gorge, the leader of Duck Slope. Chu Yang looked at the list. The corners of his mouth twitched. Motherfucker, what kind of names are these? Ao Shiyun judged as he accepted the gift. 2nd grade. 2nd class. 3rd class. Every time Ao Shiyun and Xie Dan Qiong called out, 3rd class, GMO and Luo Kadi would immediately explode. They would fly into a rage and jump out to give them a good beating. Bastard. Are you here to disgust me? Bastard. Do you want to die? Dog ant. What the hell did you give me? Grandma. He's simply not up to standard. Every time this happened, the one who was beaten would feel extremely wronged. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He had already spent hundreds of thousands of taels. Outside, the people who were waiting in line to present their gifts were all deathly pale. Their legs were trembling as if they were playing the pipa. My mother, this is too cruel. Nothing was too strange in this vast world. Who would get married this way? In just one afternoon, he had received more than 1,000 gifts, and the highest was a 2nd-class gift. Most of them were 3rd class. Only those who had an especially bad reputation and committed all kinds of evil deeds, no matter how good their gifts were judged as not up to standard. Anyway, no one knew what they had given. The name list of those who were not up to standard was immediately sent out. Then all the big clans immediately began to hunt them down. Such swift and decisive action. Instantly, everyone kept quiet out of fear. On the first day, the leaders of all the big clans came one after another. All of their gifts were judged to be 1st class. In the afternoon, along with the thunderous sound of horse hooves, all the Dark Bamboo Hall leaders came one after another to present their gifts. Finally, Duke Yu came. Duke Yu's personal arrival caused a huge uproar. Furthermore, what was even more surprising was, Duke Yu came with his new wife to congratulate him. This caused everyone to feel even more terrified. Gu Duxing was the first person in history who could make Duke Yu of Dark Bamboo so solemn. In 7 days' time, it was equivalent to scraping a layer of land from 3 days' time. They received a total of 17,000 sets of heavenly treasures and rare metals. Such a huge number made Chu Yang a little shocked. Furthermore, there were many treasures among them. This day was the wedding day. Within the territory of the Gu clan, the 10-mile-long streets were paved with red silk. Flowers were everywhere. Lanterns and colored banners were everywhere. Everyone was beaming with joy. Along with the howl of the wolf sword supreme martial artist Luo Kadi, an earth-shattering salute sounded at the same time. Banners suddenly unfolded in the sky. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Chu Yang is here to congratulate you. Heaven is here to congratulate you. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Dark Bamboo is here to congratulate you. Grow old together. Raise your eyebrows. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Ao Clan Xie Yun is here to congratulate you. Congratulations to Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling on their wedding day. Xie Clan's Dan Qiong is here to congratulate you. Luo Clan is here to congratulate you. Tianji is here to congratulate you. Amidst the clamor, a sword light suddenly soared into the sky. The biting cold sword aura completely materialized. For lines of big words appeared arrogantly in mid-air just like that. Walking the world alone is at the prime of my life. Childhood sweethearts, a lifetime of love, I am the hero of the world. The sword light swept across the sky. With the sky as paper, the sword light as ink, and the sword as brush, 28 big words were written. They actually didn't dissipate for a long time. As if countless lightning bolts had written big words, they appeared in midair. It was Duke Yu's work. This sword light seemed to have kicked off the curtains. The brothers immediately imitated it. For a moment, the sword aura in the sky was everywhere. The supreme martial artist's charm was everywhere, shuttling back and forth, causing the surrounding hundreds of miles to tremble in fear. Amidst the lively atmosphere, the bridal escort team began to set off. Gu Duxing was dressed in red and wore a big red flower. Riding on a snow-white horse, he was the first to ride out of the Gu clan's gate. The bridal escort team was huge. Chu Yang, Mo Tianji, Ao Xian, Xie Danqiong, GMO, Luo Kadi, and so on. Gu Duxing rode on a white horse at the front, indicating that they would grow old together. The brothers circled around the sea of flowers and then slowly returned, entering the Gu clan from another door. Amidst the sounds of gongs and drums, the bride was brought out, circled around, and then returned to the Gu clan. Everyone was very serious during this process. Only when they came back after picking up the bride, GMO and Luo Kadi puffed up their cheeks. They couldn't hold it in any longer, and actually laughed out loud. Then there was a burst of laughter, coupled with whistles and howls. It was a mess. On this day, the Gu clan's wine was brought out at a high price. For a moment, the smell of wine filled the air within a radius of 500 miles. Everyone drank until they were dead drunk. All the wine in the Gu clan's territory was used up. The Gu clan had stored many years of good wine. They all drank until the bottom of the jar was turned upside down. As a result, when the Gu clan master wanted to drink wine at night, he asked around and found that other than the wine left for the bride and groom, there was no wine left. Tens of thousands of people were partying, and they were all martial artists. Every one of them could only drink 3 to 5 caddies of wine. Those who could drink 20 to 30 caddies of wine. In this way, each person could drink 10 caddies of wine. That was a full 400,000 to 500,000 caddies of wine. Cough, this is nonsense. It seems to be the biggest liquor factory in our country. Cough, cough, I don't know how much it produces. I don't know. That night, Luo Kadi wanted to go into the bridal chamber. However, he was punched and kicked several times by Gu Duxing. GMO drank too much early and disappeared without a trace. After chasing away this pack of wolves with great difficulty, Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling entered the bridal chamber. The two of them whispered sweet nothings to each other for a long time. The two of them had been together since they were young. They didn't know how many twists and turns they had gone through. Now that they were finally together, they felt extremely happy and satisfied. Seeing that it was already late at night, the two of them were preparing to drink wine and go to bed. At this critical moment, someone suddenly coughed repeatedly, followed by someone crying out in pain. Then, Gu Duxing and Gu Miaoling were dumbfounded. They saw Second Master Ji struggling to use his hands and feet. He crawled out from under the bed, and there was a brand new urinal on his head. After he came out, he looked left and right and scratched his head in confusion. Where is this? Gu Miaoling let out a scream. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't show her face. Gu Duxing's face was full of black lines. He grabbed GMO and dragged him out, punching and kicking him violently. GMO was extremely wronged. He defended himself repeatedly. I don't know either. I really don't know how I got there. I really don't know. It turned out that GMO only remembered that he was drunk. After that, he lost his memory. He didn't know who restrained him, forced him into a state of tortoiseshell, and stuffed him under Gu Duxing's new bed, but at this point, how would Gu Duxing listen to his explanation? GMO turned into a dragon head again. He was directly thrown out by Gu Duxing. And this matter actually became an unsolved case. GMO clearly knew that it was definitely Chu Yang and the others who did it, but he didn't know who was so mischievous. He investigated openly and secretly, extorted a confession through torture and begged, but he still couldn't figure out who was so talented until many years later, when Rui Badong got married and GMO was knocked out and stuffed under the bed again. Did he vaguely remember that it was actually Mo Tianji, this sanctimonious person who did it? But before this, who would suspect Mo Tianji? They would rather suspect Chu Yang than Mo Tianji. These few days were exceptionally pleasant. Gu Duxing was a newlywed, so of course he was in high spirits. But the other brothers also had an exceptionally happy time with Chu Yang here. Everyone had enough fun and practiced martial arts. When they were tired of practicing, they drank and bragged. They were infinitely lazy. Of course, Mo Tianji was an exception. Mo Tianji was using this limited information to make inferences step by step. He was making plans step by step. When Chu Yang met him in the study, he realized that Mo Tianji had already sorted out the information about the big clans. There were dozens of types. They were sorted and put into the book. And Mo Tianji was still frowning and saying incomplete things. Chu Yang only took one look and immediately felt a headache coming on. He had never thought that someone's thinking could be so meticulous. Chapter 12:35. Happy days always passed exceptionally quickly. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Under the stirring of this wedding, the 3 days were completely purged. They became a single entity. The strong alliance between the Heavenly Armament Pavilion and the various clans as well as the Dark Bamboo was completely stabilized. Currently, they were transforming into a huge and powerful fighting group. There were only 5 days left before Chu Yang's 3-month time limit. Chu Yang took advantage of this period of time to use all the resources he had on him that could be used on his brothers. Only the sword spirit had not woken up, so he couldn't refine the incomplete version of the heavy pill. After the wedding, Duke Yu had a long talk with Chu Yang alone. After that, he left excitedly. He said that he was going back to prepare. Ao Shiyun came to look for Chu Yang. Actually, the Ao clan also has people in the upper 3 heavens. It's just that, in the current situation. Chu Yang laughed bitterly. I've thought about this before. Back then, the Li clan had people in the upper 3 heavens. As the number 1 clan in the upper 3 heavens, how could the Ao clan not have any connections with the upper 3 heavens? However, Tribulation and the big clans are mortal enemies now. Even if they had connections in the past, I'm afraid that's not enough. I was afraid that you would be put in a difficult position, so I didn't ask at all. Ao Shiyun was silent. What Chu Yang said was right. The current situation was already like this. Even if Chu Yang and the rest wouldn't deal with the big clans wouldn't let them off either. Under such a premise, no matter what connections they had in the past, they could pretty much ignore them. After all, it wasn't their own clan. On this day, Chu Yang gathered all his brothers, including Gu Duxing and Mo Tianji. I'm going back soon. Currently, the heavenly passage hasn't opened. I'm the only one who can pass through. Also, I can only come down this once. I'll tell you what I should. I've already told you all during this period of time. Don't slack off in the future. Make use of all the time to improve your strength. You can go to the Lake of Despair to train in the future. There, I'm not afraid of you guys fighting there. The next time we meet, when I get the Tribulation Sword fragment, the entire heavens will be fully opened. That's when the real chaos will arrive. I estimate this time. At most 1 more year. I request that, no matter what method you use, you must raise your strength to 4th grade Supreme Martial Artist. This is my minimum requirement. Even if you guys die, it's better than being killed by others. Because at that time, there will be no buffer. Everything will be real. Before the heaven passage opens, hide the important members of your family. Then, as soon as the passageway was opened, the first thing that happened was charge. The brothers listened in silence and nodded their heads. Mo Tianji pondered for a moment and said, Boss, after we go up, I'll contact you depending on the situation. If the situation is complicated and dangerous, we will make our own decisions. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. That's right. When the time comes, all of you will listen to the orders of the heavens. Once you go up, your identities will definitely be exposed. You must be aware of this. He understood Mo Tianji's meaning very well. Hiding in the dark was always much better than being exposed in the open. Mo Tianji's eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. He slowly nodded and said, "Don't worry, big brother. I will make arrangements in advance. Whether it's the upper three heavens or the future heaven imperial court that you mentioned, they're all humans. As long as it's a human, no matter if it's a conspiracy or something else, we're not afraid." Chu Yang nodded deeply. Then he focused his eyes and looked at the faces of all his brothers. "Brothers, when the time comes, we will laugh proudly in the heavens together." Gu Duxing and the others nodded slowly, their eyes shining. "The things that I gave you, when you go back, give them to your parents and your women to increase their strength. Unforeseen circumstances may happen. It's better for everyone to have some ability to protect themselves." Chu Yang exhorted. It was naturally the safest and most efficient for Chu Yang to increase their strength. However, it was the most comfortable for their families to do it themselves. The filial piety of their children and grandchildren was the greatest happiness of the elderly. The protection of their loved ones was a woman's dream. Chu Yang doing it and Ao Shiyun and the rest doing it themselves were two completely different concepts and feelings. The meaning was completely different. Chu Yang fully considered everyone's feelings. Also, those purple crystals are enough for you to use at the highest efficiency for cultivation for a year and a half. Don't be reluctant to use them. Chu Yang smiled. Countless purple crystal mines in the upper three heavens are waiting for you. Early in the morning, Chu Yang packed his luggage. The sky was still dark. He quietly floated out of the window and silently rose hundreds of feet into the air. Standing high up in the sky, he looked at the houses in the night sky with warmth in his eyes. "Inside, my brother is sleeping." He quietly glanced at it, and then his body spun in the air, disappearing without a trace. Chu Yang sped toward the passageway back to the upper three heavens at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. "Brother, we will meet again. This time I am very happy. Especially when Du Xing held a wedding because of my return. This made me even more touched. I will go back and lay down my foundation. I will wait for you to come. I will try my best, so that when you come up, it won't be too difficult." Chu Yang disappeared into the night sky without looking back. "Boss has left." Gu Du Xing stood in front of the window and retracted his aura. Only his eyes were focused on the night sky. The other brothers also did the same. Everyone's eyes were shining. A fourth-grade supreme martial artist in a year's time. They quickly settled the matters that needed to be settled. Then, the brothers would go to the Lake of Despair. To achieve this goal, no matter what, one day, we will appear in the upper three heavens with great strength. Then, Boss Wu Shang and the rest wouldn't have to fight alone and without help. Chu Yang sped all the way and finally reached the passageway in the afternoon. Just as he was about to enter the passageway, he suddenly felt as if someone was spying on him. But when he quickly turned around, he didn't find anything. Chu Yang frowned and looked around, but found nothing. Seeing that there wasn't much time left, Chu Yang didn't have time to check carefully. He jumped into the passageway. The passageway quickly disappeared. The ground turned into a proof of entry. There wasn't a single gap. After the passageway closed, two figures quietly appeared behind the mountain rocks. They walked slowly to the place where the passageway used to be. They stared deeply. It was a man and a woman. The man was dressed in black. His long hair was loose and he was tall and straight. But his face was a little strange. The left side of his face and the right side of his face were completely opposite. His left eyebrow was like a shocking sword that pierced straight up, while his right eyebrow was like a 1,000-foot waterfall that poured down in torrents. One of his eyes was like a full moon while the other was like a crescent moon. In between his eyebrows, there was a flame-shaped birthmark. At this moment, it was actually shining brightly. The young girl beside him had a strong and graceful figure. Her face was full of heroic spirit. At this moment, the young girl turned to look at the man. She asked, "Why don't you show yourself and meet him?" The man's eyes were deep like a deep pool. He looked at the place where Chu Yang disappeared and said softly, "I don't know either. The current me. Who is it?" The young girl sighed. "Ever since you sensed it, you rushed over from 30,000 miles away. But you just looked at the back? Didn't you want to ask your master?" The man's long hair moved without wind. He forced a smile and said in a low voice, "When I completely merge, I will meet them. But now, I'm afraid I will hurt them. I don't have the confidence to control myself. So I'd rather not meet them." He stood quietly for a while and turned to ask the young girl, "Do you want to go to your house to take a look? If you want to go, I will send you back." "But let's go." The man held the young girl and turned to leave. After walking a few steps, he stopped again, as if he wanted to look back. But in the end he didn't. With a long roar, the two soared into the sky and disappeared into the distance like lightning. In the future, thunder will shake and the demon lord will ascend to the heavens. As Chu Yang sped through the passageway, he thought, who is that person in the dark? To be able to hide from my divine sense? There aren't many people like that in the upper three heavens. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. Chu Yang's body shook and he immediately stopped. Could it be Tan Tan? At this moment, Chu Yang wanted to go back. But as he walked past, the passageway behind him had completely collapsed and was blocked. Chu Yang sighed and flew forward. He gritted his teeth. If I find out in the future that today is really that small, I will definitely beat him to death. Upper three heavens, wind, thunder platform. A few days ago, there was an earth-shattering commotion at the wind thunder platform. The mountains shook and several nearby mountains even caused avalanches. Such a huge commotion naturally attracted attention. Then, the Li clan, which was the closest to this place, immediately sent people to investigate. But they discovered that the wind thunder platform's ancient wonder, that strange stone pillar that had stood upright for 100,000 years, had actually been chopped off by someone. When this news got back, the entire Li clan was furious. Who was so bored to come to this world of ice and snow to chop stones for fun? This wind thunder platform had been a strange sight here for 100,000 years. If we didn't want it to exist, wouldn't we have chopped it off countless times? Looking at the scene, it was obviously intentional destruction. Such a tall stone was actually chopped off section by section starting from the top. A stone pillar that was more than 10,000 feet tall. It was actually chopped into more than 10,000 pieces. Every piece was about the same size. And the cut was very neat. How bored must one be to do such an extremely painful thing? Now that the stone pillar had fallen, the wind thunder platform also disappeared. The Li clan was furious. The wind thunder platform's existence wasn't as simple as a natural wonder. Because every year, when the lightning was at its weakest, there would still be people from the Li clan who would come here to train their spirit. With the help of this mighty power of heaven and earth, they would stimulate and solidify their spirit. And now, this place of training was gone just like that. In their fury, the Li clan sent out several teams of experts, each led by a supreme martial artist, to investigate this matter. After a round of on-site investigation and deduction, the Li clan came to this conclusion. Firstly, this person was definitely an expert. Secondly, this person must have thought that there must be treasures here with the continuous lightning and thunder. But looking at the situation, it was obvious that the person had chopped all the way to the very bottom and hadn't found anything. Because if he had, he definitely wouldn't have chopped so much. Chapter 12:36. Everyone understood. If they put themselves in his shoes, they would definitely feel indignant if they didn't manage to find anything after spending so much effort. Therefore, he would definitely come again. Therefore, many people from the Li clan were lying in ambush on both sides of the wind thunder platform, waiting for him. All of them were filled with rage. As long as you dare to come, I'll skin you alive. There's treasure? If there's really a treasure, you won't have a chance. But now, the Li clan had already been waiting in this freezing wind thunder platform for close to 3 months, and there was still no movement. Everyone was already slacking off. Could it be that the person wasn't coming? Or did they discover our movements and flee? If that was the case, it would really be as difficult as ascending to heaven to find such a person in the vast heavens. Li Donghai, a 4th-grade supreme martial artist, was the person in charge of this operation. At this moment, he looked up at the dense snowflakes in the sky, his expression somewhat worried. The 5 white-robed elders beside him were the main force of this operation, 5 supreme martial artists. They were also Li Donghai's brothers. Brother Dong, in my opinion, that person must have received the news and won't come again, Li Nanshan said. The few people beside him agreed. Indeed, the feeling here was definitely not good. Even supreme martial artists had to circulate their energy to resist the cold. And in order not to alert the enemy, they weren't even allowed to warm themselves by the fire these few days. Wasn't this just torturing them? I didn't consider these. Li Donghai said softly, the wind-thunder platform has been here for 100,000 years. He's definitely not the only one who suspects that there's a treasure hidden under the wind-thunder platform. Even our Li clan had such suspicions back then. Li Donghai said deeply, we even sent people to investigate back then. We also thought of digging up this wind-thunder platform to see what exactly is there. What was the result? Li Beixing was excited. Yes, the result was that the ancestor was injured by the wind and thunder when he went down to an unknown depth. Li Donghai said worriedly, later on, we specially found a powerful person from the Zhuge clan to investigate. It was only then that they confirmed that this is a place where the universe is overturned and the power of the wind and thunder comes from the heavens. Then, the 2 peaks here reflected each other, neither giving way to the other. That's why such a situation happened. It's not some heavenly treasure. However, at that time, Senior Zhuge Zhangqiong had also said that. As long as there was still the power of wind and thunder, this wind-thunder platform was indestructible. Not even a supreme martial artist can do it. This matter has always been our family's biggest secret, Li Donghai said solemnly, but now the wind-thunder platform is gone. Everyone was stunned. Li Donghai took a deep breath, and a few snowflakes flew into his mouth. He said worriedly, this person? To destroy the wind-thunder platform directly with a sword. Then, how high is this person's cultivation? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the primogenitor had been injured, but this person had dug out the wind-thunder platform? If that's the case, what's the point of the family sending us here? Li Nanshan said, although this is a secret, the patriarch and the elders should know about it. If I'm not wrong, are the first batch out in the open. As for the dark, there will definitely be experts from the clan lying in ambush. Li Donghai said, so, no matter what we do, the clan has the confidence to clean up the mess. Moreover, although the family appeared to be furious, they were still very angry. But in reality, I have my misgivings. I don't want to become his mortal enemy. Li Donghai lowered his voice. It's fine if that person doesn't come. But once he comes, let's talk and do things, but don't go too far. If we become sacrifices for benefits, that would be too unjust. Sacrifices for benefits? The other 5 were dumbfounded, and their faces turned pale. Thinking about it carefully, this was really very possible. Think about it. The person who came was unrivaled. They rushed up in anger and offended him. At this moment, someone from the clan suddenly appeared and punished them severely. Then, they apologized to the other party and asked to become friends. What kind of honor was this? I even punished this supreme martial artist for you. You're still not giving me face? This was not the first time the Li clan had done something like this. Especially now that the situation was precarious. The other 8 super clans all saw the Li clan as enemies. They needed strong reinforcements even more. So, in the end, they would probably be the unlucky ones. Then we still have to make some adjustments. What if? The other 5 instantly turned from anger to calmness. Before they could finish their sentence, a huge change suddenly happened at this moment. All was quiet. Suddenly, a thunderous sound came from midair. Even this supreme martial artist was shaken by this loud sound, and his entire body trembled, and he almost fell to the ground. Not knowing what was going on, everyone looked up. They saw that the dark clouds that had not dissipated for 100,000 years suddenly parted in all directions at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the dark clouds that had accumulated for 100,000 years in the sky above the snowfield actually dissipated completely. The entire clear sky was revealed. A red sun shone above them. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers instantly shone with golden light. The sun! Someone exclaimed in surprise. There's a sun in the northwest too. Oh my God! At the same time, the world was in an uproar. Especially the three regions in the northwest, northeast, and true north, they were in jubilation. For too many people, this was the first time in their lives that they saw the sun and enjoyed the warmth of the sun. Countless people knelt on the ground and thanked the heavens. However, the pupils of this supreme martial artist on the wind-thunder platform shrank at the same time. The sun had not appeared for 100,000 years, but it appeared today. Why was this? And looking at the range, how was it just the northwest? It was obvious that the whole world was illuminated by the sun. The sun was so bright that a layer of white fog appeared on the snowy ground. The entire forest and the thousands of mountains and valleys turned into a dreamlike scenery at the same time. It was like a celestial palace in the sky, surrounded by clouds and mist. All of a sudden, a white light whizzed down from the sky. As it grew bigger and bigger, it suddenly split into two and shot down in all directions. As it flew, the white light suddenly became thicker and thicker, and slowly changed color, gradually turning into a rainbow. The rainbows were enormous. Every single one of them was at least a few dozen zhang thick. It connected the sky and the earth, still and unmoving. All of a sudden, the world was filled with a myriad of colors. The white light in the middle of the rainbow slowly emitted a gentle glow, rolling up and down. The next moment, the wind howled, thunder and lightning flashed, followed by thunder and lightning. Everyone was shocked at the same time. If the sky was cloudy, it was still understandable. But now, it was sunny in a radius of millions of miles. Wind and thunder actually gathered together? This was too ridiculous. A ray of light came from somewhere underground, approaching the wind and thunder in the sky at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the white light in the center. As if it connected the sky and the earth, it showed a colorful glow. Splendid and brilliant beyond compare. And then it stretched across the sky. The rainbow that crossed the distance between the sky and the earth suddenly rolled and gathered into a ball in the sky, and then separated. 8 big words appeared in the sky. The fifth part of the tribulation, the ruler of the martial world. As if an ancient deity had suddenly descended to the world, ruling over the world. The supreme martial artist leading the Li clan team was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly exclaimed, "Tribulation phenomenon? Oh my God." At this moment, the whole world shook. Everyone in the world, no matter where they were, saw these 8 big words. Lower 3 heavens. On the way back from the south, Tai Budian looked at the sky affectionately. Looking at these 8 big words, a trace of heartfelt sweetness appeared in her eyes. He had gone back, and he had successfully obtained the 5th part of the tribulation sword. According to him, once he obtained the 5th part, he would be able to pass through the heavens. When that time comes, should I go up and take a look? The emperor was feeling sweet and conflicted. 3 days. Gu Duxing and the other brothers looked up. They looked at the sky for a long time, all of them silent. However, every single one of their hearts was boiling hot. Boss had gone back. Furthermore, it was done in such an earth-shattering manner. The headquarters of the law enforcement officers. The Dharma Supreme looked at the sky for a long time. He didn't speak for a long time. Only when the rainbow in the sky started to weaken did the Dharma Supreme let out a long sigh. Miscalculation. It turns out that the sword master of the tribulation sword had long been hiding in the upper 3 heavens. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he ordered indifferently, "Investigate thoroughly." These 2 words were said with an unusually heavy tone. In the shadows behind him, a respectful voice sounded. "Yes." The Dharma Supreme stood with his hands behind his back, not moving for a long time. He was thinking in his heart, since, after that, my strength has improved instead. That thing is indeed good stuff. I didn't expect there to be so much left. Ever since I started to nourish the heavens, I haven't used it and it's all been taken advantage of. Yes, Chu Yang's part was taken away. Who exactly took it away? If he obtained that peace, his strength would probably surpass Wu Jueqing's. As for this Tribulation Sword Master, since you have appeared in the upper three heavens, this is the day I have been waiting for. Everyone in the big clans was also shocked. The fifth part of the Tribulation Sword, the ruler of the martial world. And the tremors this time were bigger than those in the past, more obvious and lasting. This proved that the Tribulation Sword Master had obtained the fifth part of the Tribulation Sword in the upper three heavens. The Tribulation Sword Master had been in the upper three heavens for a long time. The big clans issued an order at the same time: investigate thoroughly. In a faraway place, countless strange people looked up at the sky at the same time, their eyes full of eagerness. The Tribulation Sword Master had already obtained the fifth part. When he obtained the fifth part and passed through the heavens, our king would be able to reunite with us. We have been in hiding for tens of thousands of years. No one knew that when the strange phenomenon suddenly appeared in the sky, Chu Yang was speeding underground. Right now, he was already close to the wind-thunder platform. Along the way, especially after entering the upper three heavens, Chu Yang felt a huge difference. When he saw that he was at most a few dozen miles away from reaching the wind-thunder platform, Chu Yang suddenly felt wind and thunder gathering in his meridians. The heavenly heart of wind and thunder suddenly moved. Immediately, a rainbow-colored fog appeared in this tunnel like a dream, as if an entire rainbow had poured into the tunnel. Fourth update. Gee, on behalf of all the brothers and sisters in Pride, Feng Ling prays for my brother, scholar who gets drunk at night, from the Pride VIP group is suffering from cancer. He will undergo surgery on the 13th of this month. Praying for my brother to overcome his illness and recover soon. On the day the surgery is successful, I will congratulate my brother with an outburst. I firmly believe that the surgery will be a success. My brother will definitely be healthy. Everyone is waiting for you. Chapter 1237. Chu Yang was confused for a moment. What's going on? Just as he was confused, the seven-colored fog in the passageway became thicker and thicker. Finally, he couldn't see his fingers clearly. He tried to take a breath, and instantly, he felt comfortable all over. The heavenly core of wind and thunder shuttled back and forth in his body and finally separated into two sides. The wind jade occupied the left side of Chu Yang's body, while the thunder jade occupied the right side of Chu Yang's body. Both sides were ready for battle. The moment the two pieces of jade stopped moving, the endless colorful fog in the passageway suddenly rushed into Chu Yang's body with a whoosh. Wave after wave, like a vast and mighty river, surging over. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. This seven-colored fog could actually strengthen one's vital energy. And the effect was very obvious. As he walked slowly, he absorbed the seven-colored fog. Wherever he passed, there was nothing but emptiness. The seven-colored mist vanished into nothingness. Only the front of him was still densely packed. Chu Yang was just curious. Why wasn't there such a magical thing when he passed by last time? This is the real benefit of the Tribulation Sword Master. The sword spirit's voice sounded as if he had just woken up from a dream. Do you think that you got the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword just to let you take a 3-month break to see your lover and brothers? You're awake? Chu Yang was delighted. I'm already back. Why wouldn't I be awake? The sword spirit also smiled. At this moment, Chu Yang faintly heard the huge sound of thunder and lightning from above. He couldn't help but ask, a vision of heaven and earth? The sword spirit said, that's right. Every fragment of the Tribulation Sword will be accompanied by a different vision of heaven and earth. The vision of heaven and earth will bring some magical things to benefit the Tribulation Sword Master. And this time, the power of wind and thunder is used to bring down the seven-colored rainbow from outside the clouds to increase the Tribulation Sword Master's foundation and power. I see. Chu Yang pondered for a while. Since there's such a big movement, there must be a lot of people outside. It seems that I can't go out the same way. You have to go out. There's only one way. The sword spirit said. I see. Chu Yang muttered to himself for a while. Then he opened his mind and said, I'll get my benefits first. As for how I'm going to get out, What's the point of thinking about that if I don't go out now? The sword spirit was stunned. He saw Minister Chu operate the heaven-splitting divine power with all his might. Then, the seven-colored fog started to gather around Chu Yang with a whooshing sound. It rushed into Chu Yang's meridians. The circulation of Chu Yang's martial technique became faster and faster. He even had time to talk to the sword spirit. Sword spirit. This kung fu is very strange. When I first started practicing it, the speed is very slow, and it takes at least 2 incense sticks to burn to complete 1 cycle. But now, I can complete 2 cycles in 1 breath. The sword spirit was silent for a long time. Then he said, I don't understand this martial art, but if you can circulate 10,000 times in a breath, it should be enough. Go to hell. Chu Yang was exasperated. 10,000 cycles in 1 breath? My body had long since exploded. What kind of meridians can withstand such speed? As far as I know, my master can circulate 1,000 cycles of the divine technique in a single breath. In an instant, a full-force palm strike is enough to destroy the entire heaven layer world. The sword spirit said slowly. Chu Yang was silent. After a long time, he said in a low voice, So, there really is no end. 1,000 cycles in a single breath. Chu Yang was greatly provoked by this sentence. He circulated his martial technique with all his might. Along with the whooshing sound, the 7-colored fog gathered in Chu Yang's body like rivers converging into the sea. When Chu Yang had walked a few hundred steps, he actually felt that the circulation speed of his martial technique seemed to be slightly faster. He couldn't help but feel happy. This happiness didn't matter. The circulation of his vital energy returned to its original state. Still not making me happy? Chu Yang was a little startled. All right, I won't be happy with external gains, and I won't be sad with personal gains. I will face a pie falling from the sky with a normal heart. After an unknown amount of time, Chu Yang gradually felt that the 7-colored fog in the passageway was gradually decreasing. Finally, it became thinner. He tried to look at his dantian. He couldn't help but cry out in surprise, Sword Spirit, look! The purple energy in my dantian has increased by a little. Really? The sword spirit was shocked. He hurriedly looked and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. This is considered an additional one. At best, I can only say that it's completely replenished by the first one. Chu Yang said angrily, Look carefully. Next to the first one, there's another thin one. How can that be considered one? The sword spirit said disdainfully. For example, next to the bristles on a pig's neck, there's an additional sheep's fluff. Chu Yang was so shocked that he was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. He grimaced. Damn you, you really know how to make an analogy. If it's fluff, then it's fluff. What sheep's fluff? He took a few more steps forward. Suddenly, he felt the vital energy in his dantian shake violently. It was noisy, turbulent, and surging endlessly. Chu Yang seemed to feel that his dantian had swelled up, almost to the point of bursting. But when he looked at it, there was nothing unusual on the outside. At the same time, a mysterious feeling suddenly surged in his heart. Chu Yang was shocked. Sword Spirit, I'm about to break through. Breaking through, this is normal. The Sword Spirit laughed. You were already on the verge of breaking through. After absorbing the power of the rainbow, it would be strange if you didn't break through. As he spoke, Chu Yang felt more and more uncomfortable. Finally, he stopped walking forward and sat down cross-legged on the ground. He took a deep breath and began to guide his vital energy back. He tried his best to suppress the restlessness in his heart. At the steadiest speed, he guided the vital energy out of his dantian into his meridians and began to break through the bottleneck of first-grade supreme martial artist. This was a brand new meridian route. Before his strength reached that level, Chu Yang didn't even know that there was such a meridian route in the human body. But just now, when the conditions were right, it suddenly appeared on its own. The surging vital energy pierced in like a needle. Everywhere it passed, there was a tearing pain. Chu Yang endured it calmly. This feeling was like the tearing pain during childbirth. It was extremely painful, but it was also filled with the joy of a new life. Chu Yang had an inexplicable feeling. The supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. If he told others about this feeling, he would definitely be attacked by all the martial artists in the world. What the hell? The supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. Then how many people in this world had started before? The vital energy penetrated in like a hot knife through butter and gradually filled up. It slowly pushed forward to a solid barrier and then stopped here. The vital energy behind was still rushing in like a tide. Chu Yang took a breath and withdrew all his vital energy back to his dantian. Then, he circulated his energy again and gathered all his strength to charge forward fiercely. The tsunami-like power charged forward again after retreating, as if it was a decisive battle. He charged forward fiercely. Not good. The sword spirit was about to stop him. But it was too late. Minister Chu's cross-legged body jumped up like a toad. In mid-air, blood spurted out of his 7 orifices. Then, he fell down and lay flat on the ground, his legs twitching, trying to break through to the supreme martial artist level. How can you charge forward so violently without going through a period of nourishment? How can you be like this? The sword spirit complained. Chu Yang said weakly, "Wasn't it always like this in the past?" The sword spirit rolled his eyes and hurried to repair his meridians. After a long while. Only then did Chu Yang start to try for the second time, the third time, the fourth time. After a long time, he still couldn't move it at all. Chu Yang was extremely depressed. He thought about it carefully. When he tried to attack again, he subconsciously used his inner vision. To his surprise, he discovered that after all his vital energy had been depleted, those 2 wisps of purple vital energy were still motionless in his dantian. Chu Yang let out a sound of surprise. Then, he circulated the heavenly lifting divine technique and carefully started to move these 2 primordial real silk. However, after a long time, he could only move the one that was already in good condition. The other one was still motionless. Chu Yang had no other choice but to drive it into his meridians in a wobbly manner. Then, he proceeded towards the barrier. Looking at how weak this primordial real silk was, Chu Yang also seriously lost his confidence. After this primordial real silk entered the newly opened route that day, it actually felt like it was walking with its head held high as it traveled through the vast and mighty vital energy. Then, it reached the first-grade supreme martial artist barrier and charged over just like that. Chu Yang sighed. Looks like it's hopeless. But, just as he said it was hopeless, the next moment, a miracle appeared. That incomparably sturdy supreme martial artist barrier. That barrier that Chu Yang used all his strength to attack dozens of times but still didn't move. Actually, under the charge of this primordial real silk, it charged straight in. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. Without waiting for him to circulate his energy, the primordial qi that had been accumulating here and had no way of entering automatically surged over and squeezed into this thin gap. Then, with a boom, the barrier opened and Chu Yang's vital energy rushed in. In an instant, this meridian was connected in all directions. At once, Chu Yang felt as if his whole body was floating. At the same time, a confused aura of the great Tao suddenly appeared in his heart. All of a sudden, Chu Yang became as clear-headed as ice and snow. After the primordial real silk succeeded, it automatically wanted to return to his dantian. But Chu Yang already knew how powerful the primordial real silk was. How could he let it run back to rest? He forced it to move continuously in his meridians with a torrential current. The sword spirit constantly filled Chu Yang's meridians with the power of elixirs and turned it into the energy of heaven and earth. The team continued to expand. After a long while, Chu Yang sighed and stood up. Sword supremacy, first grade, elementary. He truly realized the terror of a supreme martial artist. With such a vast amount of vital energy, after breaking through to first-grade supreme martial artist, it only barely stabilized at the elementary level. It wasn't even at the level of a supreme martial artist. You should be content. The sword spirit rolled his eyes. Who doesn't spend many years trying to break through to this level? Some even spend thousands of years. You broke through in just 2 hours, and you're still complaining. Chapter 12:38. After Chu Yang broke through, the heavenly heart of wind and thunder returned to the tribulation space. The sword spirit couldn't be bothered to argue with Chu Yang now. He was busy planting herbs. The heavenly treasures that Chu Yang collected in the upper three heavens were still piled up inside. The sword spirit planted them one by one in the field. The sword spirit was very reluctant to do this. The quality of the heavenly treasures plundered from the upper three heavens was much worse than the ones in the upper three heavens. The sword spirit felt a little wronged. However, heavenly treasures were heavenly treasures after all. Although the quality of these herbs wasn't as good, they were still very useful for refining elixirs in the future. The tribulation space was filled with purple gas. The spiritual spring water had already turned into a faint milky white color. If it can turn from milky white to its original clear color, it will be the spring of life, the sword spirit said lightly. How long will that take? Chu Yang asked. I don't know. The sword spirit shook his head. I only know that the materials are not complete. Right now, the most important material was the tree of life. As for the others, even though the conditions are still lacking, they are not far off. Some of the materials are even far superior. Chu Yang's eyes flashed. He murmured, Tree of Life? What does it look like? The sword spirit said, As far as I know, Duke, you will definitely have several species of fairies. This is the true inheritance of the fairy race. If Duke you doesn't have it, that would be the strangest thing. I see. Chu Yang broke the silence. It seems that the passage to the heavens needs to be opened earlier. He couldn't help but feel a little regretful. When he returned from the upper three heavens, Duke Yu had asked about the spring of life. He only said that he would tell Duke Yu the secret when the passage opened and he could come up. However, he didn't expect that this important condition was missing. Chu Yang sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. The sword spirit was asleep at that time. After staying in the passage for so long, it was time for him to go out. Chu Yang calmed down and guessed what he might face after he went out. At this moment, it was already chaos outside. The tribulation phenomenon this time had lasted for a long time. It was the longest in history. Everyone was puzzled. However, they only knew that the phenomenon this time was in the upper three heavens. They couldn't sense the specific location at all. Everyone was in a state of chaos, searching for him. But it was all for naught. Due to the avalanche and the collapse of the wind-thunder platform some time ago, many people had come to the northwest region during this period of time. Li Donghai and the others were lying in ambush at the bottom of the cliff. These short 2 to 4 hours were indescribably painful. The sun came out, and it was very vicious. The snow on the cliff began to melt. After it melted, water flowed down. It was common knowledge. Naturally, the more secretive the ambush point was, the better. And to be secretive, they needed something to hide behind. But in this world of ice and snow, there was no shelter. Other than ice and snow, what else could there be? Therefore, everyone was invisible in the ice and snow. But now that the ice had melted, Li Donghai and the others were practically pouring ice water on their heads. This feeling, moreover, as the snow melted faster and faster, it gradually formed small waterfalls. The waterfalls were falling down, and they were gradually increasing in size. The space wasn't big to begin with, so there was nowhere to hide. Li Donghai looked up at the sky and sighed. He was really unlucky. Just as he was feeling stifled, a gust of wind suddenly blew past. Someone pointed to the sky and exclaimed, "The dark clouds are here again." Indeed, in just a short while, the originally clear blue sky was covered by dark clouds. Then it became thicker and thicker, and it started to rain. Oh my God! Everyone sighed. Why don't we take shelter from the rain first? In the pouring rain, in the world of ice and snow. This feeling was really hard to swallow. Li Donghai nodded without hesitation. Anyway, that person had already been waiting for 3 months and didn't show up. He couldn't possibly come out just when they were taking shelter from the rain, right? Therefore, Li Donghai, Li Nanshan and the others personally made a hole in the cliff. Everyone hurriedly squeezed in. In an instant, heavy rain and waterfalls poured down. and the entrance of the cave was made into a water curtain cave. Splash, splash, everything in the world was just so strange. Just after the Li clan people entered the cave, a cave entrance suddenly appeared at the place they were originally monitoring. Then, a black shadow jumped out. The moment it jumped out, it shuddered in the pouring rain. This is really strange. In such a world of ice and snow, there's actually a rainstorm. This was indeed strange. And Chu Yang didn't know that just a moment ago, this place was still sunny. He didn't even see the strange phenomenon of heaven and earth. And after the heat came frost, water vapor rose and the heat had yet to dissipate. Of course, there would be a rainstorm. After a period of time, this rainstorm would then turn into hail. After the hail, the weather would return to the one that hadn't changed for the past 100,000 years. Heavy snow. Cough cough, this should be the principle, right? I didn't make a fool of myself, right? After Chu Yang jumped out, the cave entrance immediately disappeared. In the pouring rain, although Chu Yang had the cultivation of a supreme martial artist now, he wasn't willing to be drenched in the rain like a silly bird. So, he jumped up and silently made a hole in the cliff. Then he went in himself. The water curtain immediately came down and concealed the cave entrance. Chu Yang didn't realize that on the cliff opposite the cave entrance he made, there was also a big hole. Of course, the people opposite didn't notice it either. The rainstorm lasted for 2 hours. Then, it turned into dense hail, smashing down. Every one of them was the size of an egg, directly smashing holes in the ground. The hail lasted for the time it took to burn a stick of incense. Then, it started to snow heavily. This heavy snow was unprecedentedly heavy. It was all that kind of goose feathers snow, thick and heavy. Layer after layer, it actually completely covered all the uneven ground in a very short period of time. The puddles on the ground didn't even start to freeze before they were sealed by the heavy snow. As far as the eye could see, heaven and earth were all silvery white and misty. At the cave entrance, Chu Yang was dumbfounded. He really didn't expect to see such a miraculous scene of heaven and earth. Finally, when the ground was completely covered, the people in the caves on both sides started to move. On one side, a few people started to show their heads. Then they jumped out in the heavy snow. Their eyes naturally looked forward. Immediately, a few people exclaimed, on the cliff directly opposite, there was actually a similar cave. Inside, there was actually a black head sticking out. This person's face was covered, and his appearance couldn't be seen clearly. Only a pair of eyes were bright like a thief's. Another exclamation also came from the opposite side. Chu Yang also didn't expect that opposite him. There were actually so many people hidden. What's going on? What's going on? Li Donghai rushed out. The subordinate pointed with a trembling hand. Look, 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 Li Donghai looked up. Instantly, his nose became crooked from anger. There was actually another person opposite. And he didn't know when this person came, but he definitely came before them. After. It was absolutely impossible that they didn't notice. In that case, their original discussion had all fallen into this person's ears? Their original sorry state had also been seen by him? Li Donghai was really furious at this moment. At the same time, the few supreme martial artists kept blaming themselves. We can be considered as experienced people in the martial world. Why didn't we notice that there was such a big cave here earlier? Chu Yang was also surging with murderous intent. These people definitely came before me. In that case, didn't they already see me coming out from there? That was too dangerous. That bastard. Quickly get out and accept your death. Li Nanshan flew into a rage, pointing at Chu Yang and stomping his feet as he cursed. Wait, don't scold first. Could it be that person who cut down the heavenly thunder platform? Li Donghai hurriedly stopped him. He also just thought of this now. Definitely not. This bastard's cultivation is at most first or second grade supreme martial artist. Li Nanshan looked at his boss with some confusion. Why was his boss confused? Chu Yang had already jumped down. Black clothes, black robes, and a black mask. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes, rising endlessly. He was already very uncomfortable, and now his murderous intent was completely aroused by this insult. Without asking for the truth, he just came up and wanted to kill? In that case, under my sword, I don't care about killing a few more people. After coming down without another word, he raised his sword. Bright as flowing light, with a bang, tens of thousands of sword rays exploded in the heavy snow. For you, Li Nanshan was furious. When people of the martial world meet, you actually start fighting without even passing through the door. Do you even know the rules of the martial world? At the same time, he hurriedly raised his sword to parry. Chu Yang's sword was like the wind, attacking with every move. You scolded me first. Now you talk to me about the rules of the martial world? His body floated in the heavy snow, and streaks of sword light splashed out just like that. Li Donghai watched from the side, but he was relieved. Although this black-clothed masked man's sword moves were sharp, his cultivation was indeed not very high. He only had the cultivation of a first-grade supreme martial artist. His people could totally defeat him. Although Li Nanshan was having a hard time resisting now, his life was not in danger. With a wave of his hand, 30 to 40 people formed a large circle, watching the scene. Li Nanshan roared continuously. His opponent had taken the initiative, and he could not equalize the situation in a short time. He was extremely angry, shouting and attacking continuously. Chu Yang saw that everyone had arrived. It seemed that there was no one else around. Suddenly, he let out a long and loud shout. His long sword flashed high up in the sky. Then he jumped up. His long sword emitted a cold light in midair. Suddenly, it issued a clang sound. When this sword cry came out, it was crisp and clear, and contained the domineering might of a sovereign descending to the world. The snowflakes in the air were completely shattered by this sword cry. Below, everyone's swords let out a clear sword cry at the same time. With a whoosh, half a foot out of the sheath, cold in the wind and snow. Li Nanshan's sword was originally piercing straight, but at this moment, for some reason, it suddenly changed direction. With a clang, the sword tip actually turned upward. Chu Yang swept down. Li Donghai was shocked, and his soul almost left his body. How is this an ordinary supreme martial artist? This is a sword supremacy. Chapter 1239. Stop! Li Donghai roared as he rushed forward. Nanshan, retreat. There was only one thing he was curious about. A sword supremacy was completely different from an ordinary supreme martial artist. As far as Li Donghai knew, a sword supremacy had to be at least a grade to be able to restrain his sword energy and disguise his aura as an ordinary supreme martial artist. But this person was clearly a first-grade supreme martial artist? Could it be a disguise? Actually, this was a supreme sword supremacy expert? Thinking of this, Li Donghai's heart turned cold. Without waiting for him to say anything, Li Nanshan had already sensed the aura of death and retreated in horror. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the person who was fighting calmly with him just now was actually a sword supremacy. At this moment, Li Nanshan wanted to cry. You should have said so earlier. If you had said so earlier, how would I dare to face a sword supremacy alone? Although it's only a first-grade supreme martial artist. I'm also only a first-grade supreme martial artist, okay? But a first-grade supreme martial artist is different from me. It's a super existence that can rival a fourth-grade supreme martial artist like Li Donghai. Damn, aren't you cheating me? Even if you want to cheat me, you shouldn't cheat me like this. Li Donghai rushed forward while Li Nanshan retreated quickly. But Chu Yang's killing intent was already aroused. How could he allow him to escape from his sword? Li Nanshan's sword flashed, and Gong Zijin charged forward. Li Nanshan desperately pressed down with his sword, and the two swords clashed. Just as he relaxed, he heard a cracking sound, and felt a chill in his chest. There was actually a large hole. It pierced through from the front to the back. Thankfully, he dodged quickly and didn't hurt his heart. But this injury wasn't light. If he wanted to live, it would take a lot of effort. But he didn't stop. He retreated more than 100 feet before he stopped. Looking down, he let out a scream. Several people from the Li clan had already rushed forward to bandage his wound. But the injury was serious. When the medicine was applied, it was washed away by the blood. For a moment, there was nothing they could do. Looking at Li Nanshan's miserable state, Li Donghai was so angry that his body trembled. He looked at Chu Yang with eyes as sharp as a knife, shooting out hatred. "Sir, you're ruthless." Chu Yang sneered in a hoarse voice. "I just don't know. Did all of you surround me just to invite me over for tea? Now that your skills are inferior, someone died. You're saying that I'm ruthless?" Li Donghai replied calmly, "That's right. This is how the martial world is. You're more skilled, so no one can say anything if you kill someone. However, you're in the Li clan's territory now." Chu Yang was stunned for a moment. "Li clan? Are you from the Li family?" Li Donghai smiled cruelly. "That's right. It's our Li clan." He was shocked to see Chu Yang. Immediately, he thought that the other party was afraid of the Li clan's power and influence, and he couldn't help but feel even more oppressed. Chu Yang couldn't help but sneer. "So what if it's the Li clan?" He was initially stunned because of the Li clan. This was a very important part of Emo Tianji's plan. It was related to the overall direction of Emo Tianji's plan. That was why he was suddenly surprised. If he made a big enemy now, would it affect the plan in the future? However, Li Donghai's words stirred up the arrogance in Chu Yang's heart. Li clan? Even if it was the Li clan, so what? Can't I kill him? Li Donghai said with hatred, "Tell me your name." Chu Yang smiled gently behind the veil. "There's no need to sign up for a bunch of dead people." Li Donghai looked up to the sky and roared, "Dead people? You'll know who the dead people are in a while." He smiled. "You think you're lying in ambush here in advance? You think you can take advantage of this? This person is the Sword Sovereign. Just by relying on these few people. With these people, there was no way they could keep him here. If they wanted to keep this person here, they needed reinforcements." The roar pierced through the clouds and rushed up. Chu Yang's eyes flashed and his heart skipped a beat. This sentence of, "You think you're lying in ambush here in advance," suddenly made him realize something. It turned out that these people didn't see him coming out from that passageway. The reason why Chu Yang was so easily angered by the other party's words and wanted to kill them was very much to silence them. After all, there was originally no passageway here, and after the Tribulation Sword Master obtained the 5th fragment of the Tribulation Sword, he could pass through the heavens once. This was definitely recorded in all the big clans. And there was a strange phenomenon in the sky just now. Once all these coincidences were put together, his identity as the Tribulation Sword Master would probably be exposed. Once his identity was exposed at such a time, it would be a disaster for his side. These words just now were blurted out by Li Donghai in a moment of desperation. Whether it was his tone, eyes, or expression, it clearly showed that he definitely wouldn't lie at such a time. Now that he knew that they didn't see anything, why should he be entangled with these people here? Moreover, they were from the Li clan. If he killed them now, wouldn't Chu Yang's heart ache? Wouldn't it be better to let them perish together with the big clans? If that's the case, then I'll take my leave. Chu Yang laughed and let go of his worries. Suddenly he rushed out quickly. Li Donghai shouted, "Stop him! At any cost!" The Li clan people all around attacked at the same time. Instantly, the fight became unusually intense. But since Chu Yang had made up his mind to leave, how could they stop him with just these people? Sword light flashed. When the first two people suddenly retreated, Chu Yang had already clashed with Li Donghai's sword and his body slanted out from here. Then he leaped up at lightning speed and stepped on the cliff. As long as he succeeded in borrowing the force, Chu Yang was confident that he could shake off these people in an extremely short time and escape. Right at this moment, a fierce gust of wind pressed down on him. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat and he raised his sword to meet it. With a boom, an unparalleled and abundant force pressed down on him. Chu Yang kept retreating. Suppressing the uncomfortable feeling in his chest, he looked up. Long howls sounded in the sky. 5 figures floated down. In the wind and snow, they were like immortals from the heavens, floating down and stepping into the world of mortals. Since you're here, don't leave. A deep voice said, I still have something to ask you. It's not too late to leave after you've made things clear. His voice was closest. It was the person who had clashed with Chu Yang just now. The 5 of them landed at the same time and occupied the corners. Chu Yang complained in his heart. One of them was a supreme martial artist. A super expert who had surpassed the boundary between immortals and mortals. What should he do now? Even if the sword spirit took over the body now, he would definitely not be a match for this person. He was a first-grade sword supremacy. If the sword spirit took over, he could at most be upgraded to the 3rd grade. With such a cultivation level, it would be very strenuous for him to go up against a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist. In an extremely short period of time, Chu Yang and the sword spirit discussed and quickly came to a decision. With the sword spirit in charge of the body, they would rather pay a certain price. The decision to break out of the encirclement and escape. As long as the other party made a move, they would act immediately. But before they acted, they had to take a look. Whether there was a turning point in this matter. Unless they were at their wits' end, they would definitely not take that path. What's your name? The eyes of the elder in the lead were cold, but there was actually a hint of gentleness. Although it was very hypocritical, it was still an attitude after all. He said, Take off your mask and let this old man see your face. Chu Yang laughed hoarsely. Why, do you think you've got me? The elder had an amiable look on his face. He said lightly, Why do you have to do this? Isn't it good for everyone to have a good talk and make friends? Besides, the right and wrong of this matter has to be judged. I've always been a reasonable person. If it's really our fault, it's not a big deal for me to apologize on your behalf. At the side, Li Donghai felt a chill in his heart. As expected, the clan had such an idea. He couldn't help but say with grief and indignation, 13th Master, Nanshan has already been beaten to the brink of death by him. And this person is obviously not. How do you know he's not? The elder waved his hand. He said nonchalantly, 5th brother is here. Nanshan won't die. Chu Yang was extremely puzzled. What's going on? Since when did the people of big clans become so well-mannered? I killed their people and they actually want to reason with me? I don't seem to have reached the stage where all the experts have to bow down to me once I show my domineering aura, right? Could it be that the benefits this time actually include this? The elder turned to look at Chu Yang and smiled lightly. Since you're not willing to take off your mask, then there's no harm in us talking like this. He actually took a step more lenient. Dare I ask you, at the bottom of this cliff, how long have you been there? How long have you been here? The elder asked softly but with a very serious expression. Chu Yang's mind flashed. According to the meaning of this sentence, I'm afraid these people have already sealed off the top for a long time. If I say that I just came in now, that's obviously not right. After thinking for a while, he said, I'm not very sure about the time, but it should be a few months? What's your intention for asking this? The elder's eyes lit up again. He said, In that case, you must know who the person who destroyed the Wind Thunder platform is? He squinted his eyes and smiled. He said, Or, you yourself are the person who destroyed the Wind Thunder platform? The elder raised his head and looked at the cave that Chu Yang had just dug. He squinted his eyes and smiled. This cave is too close to the Wind Thunder platform. Don't you think so? Until now, Chu Yang still hadn't figured out what the other party's intention was. Hundreds of answers flashed through his mind. In the end, he still took a deep breath and answered cautiously, I don't understand what you mean. When he said that he didn't understand, the elder smiled. As if he had confirmed something, he smiled lightly. But I think your strength is not enough to destroy the Wind Thunder platform. May I ask, what method did you use to destroy the Wind Thunder platform? He actually seemed to be so sure that it was Chu Yang. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, I still don't quite understand. The elder squinted his eyes and smiled. You'd better understand. If you still don't understand, it'll be very boring. Chu Yang said, So what if I did it? So what if I didn't do it? I don't understand. What's your intention? Chu Yang felt that there seemed to be something else behind this. He might as well admit it. Anyway, this wind-thunder platform had nothing to do with the Tribulation Sword Master. If the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword had always been below, this wind-thunder platform would have collapsed 8 times in these 10,000 years. Chapter 1240. This is an opportunity. In the tribulation space, the sword spirit said hurriedly, as far as I know, after the Li clan occupied the northwest back then, they realized that the terrain here was extremely cold and unsuitable for human habitation. Hence, they proposed to migrate, but before they could take action, they discovered that there was an extremely huge purple crystal mine under the northwest. Hence, the Li clan suddenly changed their mind and decided to stay. No one in the other big clans knew about this. The sword spirit said, the Li clan spent a huge amount of effort to establish themselves in the ice and snow wilderness and transform it into a place suitable for human habitation. The amount of effort spent is simply immeasurable. However, after the Li clan settled down and started to mine in secret, they realized that this purple crystal mine couldn't be mined at all. Why couldn't it be mined? Asked Chu Yang mentally. Because this huge purple crystal mine is actually wrapped in a strange metal. This kind of thing is somewhat similar to the Zhuge clan's Mount Xingyun. Even a peak-grade supreme martial artist can't destroy it. Hence, after the Li clan mined the ordinary purple crystals at the periphery, they could only look at the core and drool, unable to do anything about it. The sword spirit blinked. That's all I have to say. As for the rest, you can do as you deem fit. Chu Yang's eyes turned and he hurriedly asked, I only have one question. Are there any clans that specialize in mining purple crystals? If there were, the Li clan would have found them long ago. The sword spirit rolled his eyes and went into meditation. He was extremely confident that with such a hint from him, Chu Yang would definitely be able to think of a way to escape. The sword spirit had absolute confidence in Chu Yang. Hence, the sword spirit went to rest right away. Chu Yang fell into deep thought. When the elder saw that Chu Yang didn't speak for a long time, as though he was in a trance, he thought that Chu Yang was worried. He chuckled, his eyes shining. It's good that you admit it. As far as I know, this wind-thunder platform has been protected by the power of wind and thunder for 100,000 years. Even a peak-grade supreme martial artist may not be able to destroy it. But under your hands, you destroyed it easily. There must be a reason for this, right? Chu Yang hesitated. His eyes flickered. What if I don't say? The elder smiled cruelly. What do you think? Chu Yang closed his eyes and raised his head to look at the sky. He exhaled a deep breath and said with a bitter smile, since we've come to this point today, it seems that I have no choice but to say it. The old man smiled warmly. Very good. You are a smart man. In my generation, I like smart people the most. This super expert is eyeing us like a tiger watching its prey. What's the use of hiding our whereabouts? Chu Yang shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. He then reached out and took off his mask. A young man's face was revealed. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he peeled off a layer of skin from his face, instantly turning into a man in his 40s or 50s. In this way, it gave people the feeling that this was his true appearance. Everyone from the Li clan was dumbfounded. They didn't expect this guy to be so careful. He actually wore a human skin mask behind his face mask. The old man's eyes flickered and he said, You have the cultivation of a sword sovereign. This face is really unfamiliar. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. I've never shown my face in Jianghu. So, I'm naturally unfamiliar with you. But in front of Senior, what's the use of such a small trick? Chu Yang's voice was sincere, and his posture was very low. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. It could be seen that this flattery made him feel comfortable all over. I am Li Tong Tian. How should I address you, little friend? The old man, Li Tong Tian, asked in a very amiable manner. My lowly name is not worth mentioning. Chu Yang looked around awkwardly. Those 30 to 40 people were still glaring at him angrily. He had injured Li Nanshan. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. How could these people not be angry? Li Tongtian replied with an "oh," and smiled as if he was deep in thought. Since that's the case, let's go out and find a place to talk. Then, a group of people clustered around Chu Yang and flew upwards. Just as Chu Yang had said, with a super expert by his side, there was no need to worry about Chu Yang running away. 7 supreme martial artists were looking at a first-grade sword supremacy. If he could still escape, that would be so embarrassing that he would die of embarrassment. Secondly, now was not the time to fall out with the Li clan. If they could find out how this person managed to topple the Wind Thunder platform and grasp this method, the Li clan could say that they would be rich. This was a problem that had not been solved for the past 10,000 years. Not to mention that Chu Yang had only beaten a first-grade supreme martial artist to such a state, even if he killed all those groups of people. Li Tongtian would definitely not fall out with Chu Yang now. Using torture to extort a confession, that was the last resort. What if the other party had a unique technique that would not be effective in a short period of time? Or what if the other party decided to destroy them indiscriminately, offending or killing the other party? Then this glimmer of hope would be gone. It was rare to see the other party being so reasonable and sensible. Li Tongtian felt as if he had picked up a treasure. The 7 of them flew away, leaving behind the 40 over people who were gritting their teeth. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. Everyone went up to the cliffs on both sides of the Wind Thunder platform and sped along. From afar, they saw a tent that was the same color as the snow. It had already been buried in the snow. You dare to go in? Li Tongtian smiled. I said I don't dare to go in. Can I not go in? Chu Yang asked with a smile. You can't. Then of course I dare to go in. Chu Yang laughed. Li Tongtian laughed as well. He suddenly realized that he was starting to admire this guy. He was able to take risks and let go of them. He was really a first-class character. The 7 of them entered the tent. Li Tongtian gave a signal with his eyes. The 4 supreme martial artists immediately turned around and went out to guard the 4 cardinal directions. There were only 2 second-grade supreme martial artists left in the tent. Li Tongtian personally took out a teapot and tea leaves from his storage ring. He gathered spiritual energy and turned it into water. He boiled the tea leaves and poured the tea leaves meticulously. He actually looked like he was attentive to his guests. Good tea. Chu Yang took a sip and was full of praises. This tea is brewed from ice lotus sprouts in the land of wind and snow. It is unique to the Northwest. Drinking it can reduce the heat in one's body, stabilize one's internal energy, increase one's cultivation and refresh one's spirit. It can condense one's origin. Li Tongtian smiled lightly. Even I can only provide the clan with half a kilogram of it every year. Chu Yang knew what he meant. It is my honor to be in your favor. Li Tongtian wasn't in a hurry. He rambled on and on. After drinking 3 cups of tea, he started to talk about the main topic. What you said just now seems like you haven't finished. How is that not finished? I didn't say anything at all. Chu Yang muttered in his heart. Elderly, since I can't even protect myself now, I naturally have to come clean. Chu Yang pondered for a moment. But I am so cooperative. All I ask for is a chance to stay alive. Li Tongtian laughed. Since you have said so, I promise on behalf of the Li clan, as long as you speak the truth, I guarantee with my life and character that you will be safe and sound. What kind of character do you have? Chu Yang scolded in his heart. His expression became even more sincere. Elderly, you are so knowledgeable. You must know my background. Li Tongtian stroked his beard and smiled. He was somewhat reserved. You are right. In this world, there are really not many people or things that I don't know. My surname is Z. Chu Yang said meaningfully. He chuckled with a kind of conceit and pride. He looked at Li Tongtian expectantly. Elderly, I don't need to continue, do I? Li Tongtian frowned. Surname Z? What's wrong with surname Z? Why don't I have any impression of it? Li Tongtian raised his head and looked at his other younger brother in confusion. Then, the 2 lower-grade supreme martial artists shook their heads in unison. Obviously. They had never heard of What kind of famous surname Z in the martial world? Li Tongtian coughed awkwardly. Thinking of his boasting just now, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Young brother, please. This, I am a little ignorant. Chu Yang also revealed a stunned expression. I am ashamed. Chu Yang laughed self-deprecatingly. That's true. My clan has never appeared in the martial world. Recently, it has even become a single generation. It is normal that elderly has never heard of it. Li Tongtian actually couldn't help but comfort him. Brother Z, you don't have to take it to heart. It is really, cough cough. This is the Heavens continent. Over the years, who knows how many clans that used to rule over a region have turned into dust. At least your clan. And your existence. Compared to those clans that have disappeared forever, this is already a very fortunate thing. Yes, elderly is right. Chu Yang took a breath. How could he not tell? Although Li Tongtian's words were meant to comfort him, the threat behind them was also so obvious. If you don't listen, your clan will become like those clans, but why would I not listen? I can't wait to explain it to you. I am Zi Xiaoyan. Chu Yang seemed to be a little disappointed. I am from the Purple Crystal Clan. Purple Crystal Clan? Li Tongtian's eyes flashed. Beside him, the other person even trembled. Just the name of this clan alone was enough to make one's imagination run wild, especially the people from the Li clan, who were guarding a purple crystal mine that couldn't be mined. One could imagine how depressed they were. And now, someone who claimed to be from the Purple Crystal Clan had actually appeared. And this person was even able to destroy the Wind Thunder platform with his weak strength? Yes, our Purple Crystal Clan has extraordinary martial arts and has always been the source of trouble. Therefore, our ancestors have instructed that no one is allowed to leave the martial world. Chu Yang sighed. It's a pity that after a great change, I am the only one left. His sigh was, of course, ignored. The two supreme martial artists only had one thought in their minds right now. Extraordinary martial arts? The source of trouble? What kind of extraordinary martial arts are considered the source of trouble? Our clan's purple crystal divine technique can resonate with the aura of purple crystals from a distance. We can easily find out where there are purple crystal mines. Furthermore, no matter how difficult it is to mine a purple crystal mine, we can easily mine purple crystals. This technique is really useless. Using a very proud and helpless tone, Chu Yang threw out a bombshell. And cylinders say 3 things. The first thing, Vice Moderator Lord Ben Exon has recommended a book to me, Riding the Wind and Reigning in the Sword. It is currently ranked 2nd on the monthly rankings of new books on the homepage. Everyone, please go and take a look. Gee, the second thing. There are some tragedies today. Cough cough, I have a small notebook, cough, from when I was studying. In it, I wrote some things that I can't let my wife see, such as love poems. The most terrible thing is that I had a crush on many people at that time, so I wrote a lot. Although I have never confessed to any of them, I have written a lot of love poems. This book has always been stuffed in the gap between the 2 innermost books in the bookshelf. I have even forgotten about it. But today, my wife went crazy and insisted on cleaning the bookshelf. I was hugging the otherworldly evil monarch on the balcony and enjoying myself when I was suddenly pulled up. What is this? The cigarette in my mouth fell onto my pajamas on the spot. My wife was amazed. So talented. There are quite a lot of people. Xia xia, AI, xiu xiu. There are actually 14 or 15 of them. So awesome. The pitiful me has already been explaining for a whole day. Can't you see that this book has already turned yellow? What year is it now, sigh? The third thing. There will still be an outbreak today, but it will be a little later. The gap between the monthly votes is getting wider and wider. I beg everyone to catch up a little and let me see some hope. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1241. Clang! The white jade teacup in Li Tongtian's hands fell to the ground and broke into 3 pieces. At this moment, Supreme Martial Artist Li's eyes were as big as copper bells. Even his breathing became hurried and his face flushed red. Can easily explore the purple crystal mine? Can easily mine the purple crystal mine? Isn't this the problem that has been troubling the Li clan for 10,000 years? How is it that this little guy who jumped out of nowhere actually solved this problem that has been around for 10,000 years? Li Tongtian only felt a wave of dizziness. That supreme martial artist beside him wasn't any better. His mouth was opened so wide that 2 duck eggs could be stuffed into it. A few soft sounds came from outside. The other 4 supreme martial artists who had been eavesdropping couldn't help but knock their heads against the tent. "What's the matter?" asked Chu Yang in surprise. Nothing much," Li Tongtian said rather disheveled. Then he raised his head and looked at Chu Yang. "Brother Z, what you said just now, I don't quite understand. Cough cough, can you explain?" Chu Yang shook his head helplessly. "I also know that this kind of thing is very hard to believe." He laughed bitterly. "But it's precisely because of this that my clan doesn't dare to come out into the world. We can only hide in the mountains and forests. However, our clan's bloodline is special. If we want to cultivate, we have to borrow the energy of purple crystals." He reached out his hand. "Elderly, take a look." Li Tongtian hurriedly looked over. In Chu Yang's fair palm, as he circulated his energy, a clear purple line appeared. This was purple through and through. The purest purple in the world. The moment it entered his eyes, Li Tongtian was already certain that he had never seen such a pure and majestic purple color in his entire life. Of all colors, this was the true ruler. Furthermore, Li Tongtian could tell that this was a pure purple that leaked out from the bloodline. It was definitely not some deliberate mystification, and neither was it some pigment precipitation. Li Tongtian tried to touch it. At once, he felt an indescribable feeling, as if his entire mind was about to be immersed in it. He let go of his hand in horror, his face already full of shock. "This is my family's purple crystal divine art." Chu Yang sighed. "Only those who are born with the purple crystal bloodline will have to open the purple crystal connection when they are still in their infancy and open the purple aura to the heavens. Before the age of 15, the first stage of the purple crystal divine technique must be broken through. Only then will one be able to sense the aura of the purple crystal after cultivating it to a certain level, determine the mineral veins and then plunder the purple crystals." Chu Yang's voice was filled with pain. His face was also filled with pain. In fact, there was even a hint of sadness in his voice. "Such harsh conditions, and I can only be a miner after I've mastered it? What kind of tragedy is this?" Li Tongtian was dumbfounded as well, his whole body trembling. To the Li clan, this is such a good thing. He rejoiced in his heart. "Fortunately, I didn't use force. Otherwise, if I angered this little brat would have destroyed both jade and common stone. That would have been a complete loss." Taking 10,000 steps back, even if he managed to force out the purple crystal divine art and solve the problem with his mouth, just listen to what he said every day. How harsh were the conditions? Must be in the swaddling clothes of the purple crystal bloodline and open the purple crystal connection. Must reach the first stage before the age of 15. Which member of the Li clan had the purple crystal bloodline? Wouldn't that mean that they would all be eliminated in the first stage? It's all thanks to my cautiousness. Chu Yang continued to complain. Especially the cultivation of this divine art, which requires countless purple crystals. Other spiritual energy of the universe can't be used at all. Ever since the accident happened to the clan, I'm the only one left. All the treasures have also been taken away. My purple crystal divine art can't be continued anymore. That's why I came out to roam the martial world. These days have been tough." Chu Yang's tears and snot were all over his face as he spoke in an incredibly sorrowful manner. "It's indeed not easy." Li Tongtian agreed with him absent-mindedly, his mind constantly plotting. "Once I came out, it didn't matter, but it became even more tragic." Chu Yang's face was filled with grief and indignation. All the purple crystal mines are occupied by the big clans. Not to mention using purple crystals to cultivate. I've even been reduced to working as a blood payer to earn purple crystals to cultivate. Left with no other choice, I headed all the way north, specifically looking for a place where people rarely go. When I arrived here one day, I sensed a strong purple crystal aura. That's why I took the risk and broke the wind thunder platform. I had wanted to find a few pieces of purple crystals to use, but who would have thought that there was actually nothing in this wind thunder platform? It's just a purple crystal suppressing object. Chu Yang looked up at the sky and sighed. Purple crystal suppressing object? Li Tongtian's eyes instantly widened. I'd like to hear more about it. To put it simply, this wind thunder arena is here to suppress one's luck. Chu Yang explained somewhat helplessly. You won't understand if I put it this way. He added in his heart, actually, I don't understand it myself either. I really don't understand. Brother Z, please enlighten me. Li Tongtian eagerly poured more tea for Chu Yang. Let's put it this way. Purple crystal mines only exist in places where fate energy is abundant. And such places, in terms of geomancy and divination, are generally known as dragon veins. And this wind thunder platform is precisely suppressing the energy of the dragon veins, preventing it from leaking out. I thought that this was the dragon's head that was suppressing the dragon's head, so I bravely used the purple crystal divine technique to cut down all the way. Who knew that the purple crystal mine here was actually so huge? It was only when I cut all the way to the bottom that I realized that there was actually still a very long way to go from here to the real mine. Just as I was about to dig my way over from here, your people arrived. I finally endured for 3 months with much difficulty. Today, the weather finally became abnormal, with torrential rain, hail, and snow everywhere. I had originally wanted to take advantage of the heavens and earth to escape. Who would have thought that in such weather, I would actually be blocked by this powerful supreme martial artist? There was no way out for me, and other than revealing my own secret, there was no other way out. Chu Yang looked up at the sky and sighed. This is fate. Could it be that our Purple Crystal clan is ultimately still unable to avoid the fate of working so hard for others to take advantage of? His confession was really tearful. But such a sorrowful confession was earth-shattering good news in the ears of the two supreme martial artists. As Chu Yang spoke sorrowfully, the more they listened, the more radiant they became. Towards the end, they were even beaming with joy, unable to contain their joy. This was really like someone sending a pillow to them when they wanted to take a nap. When they wanted to marry a wife, a young lady who was deeply in love with them came. The heavens were fulfilling their wishes. Why must our Li clan have to suffer in such a bitter and cold place? Why does our Li clan place so much importance on the matter of the wind thunder platform being severed this time? Isn't it because of this? After a few years, we have indeed reaped great rewards. I believe that even if the Elder Master were to hear of this news, he would also be so elated that he would jump high in joy, right? Underneath the Li clan, there was an enormous purple crystal mine that was so vast that there was a sea of them. If all of them were to be mined out to Li Tongtian gasped in exhilaration, almost choking himself to death. This old man is too exhilarated. Yes, it hasn't been verified yet. I need to verify it first before I make any plans. Brother Z. Li Tongtian made up his mind. Do you really have such amazing skills? Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. Elderly, although our clan has never appeared in the world, have you really not heard of our Purple Crystal clan? I heard that in these tens of thousands of years, there was a generation of big clans. They even specially invited people from our Purple Crystal clan to go and select the terrain. Li Tongtian was rather embarrassed, but he was complaining in his heart. You also know that it has been tens of thousands of years? How many things can be forgotten in tens of thousands of years? Other things aside, how many times have the big clans changed? Do you still think that I would know? However, Li Tongtian could understand. Humans generally viewed themselves and their clans as exceptionally impressive. Even if they were just ordinary people, they also felt good about themselves and were extremely mighty. They always felt that others would remember them after they had done something. Actually, some things are very normal. It's just that you feel that you're impressive. You may view yourself as the most important person in the world, but in the eyes of others, Who would view you as so important? Who knows, you might even be less than a fart. A fart could even stink for a while. Therefore, the biggest weakness of most people was that they thought too highly of themselves. This only successor of the Purple Crystal clan, in front of him, had committed exactly this problem. However, to Li Tongtian, not only was this not a problem, it was instead a weakness that could be exploited. Brother Z, as long as you really have this ability, you've really struck gold in coming to the northwest this time. Li Tongtian's eyes were vivid and enticing. Chu Yang curled his lips and chuckled bitterly. Elderly, let's not beat around the bush. Since I've landed in your hands today, please just say it directly. What do you want me to do in order for you to let me go? Let's not beat around the bush. If I can't do it, you won't let me off either. This is something that no one needs to say. If that's the case, I'll leave my life behind. If I can do it, I'll finish it as soon as possible and leave as soon as possible. Li Tongtian laughed loudly, his white beard trembling. Brother Z, you're underestimating me too much. How can I be the kind of person who only knows how to take advantage of others? Our Li clan has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. When has our golden reputation ever done anything to let others down? Chu Yang was perplexed and shocked. Then, Li Tongtian beamed and said, Brother Z, this is your chance. As long as you really have the ability that you say, I can guarantee it. All the purple crystals that you need for your cultivation in the future, no matter how many there are, our Li clan will take them all and provide them for free. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. Really? Of course. Li Tongtian continued. Not only that. Furthermore, as long as you really have that ability, our Li clan can even help you rebuild the Purple Crystal clan. We'll take full responsibility to help you take in wives and concubines and pass down the family name. We'll even promise that our clans will be allies forever. We'll never betray each other in all our lifetimes. Chu Yang's breathing quickened. His eyes were misty and his fingers were trembling in agitation. His lips were trembling nonstop. You're not lying to me? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.